Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone's doing well. Sending lots of love, light, protection and guidance in the name of Jesus Christ during this time, because my goodness, we're going to need it given what's going on. I came across an article online which really perked me up and I was like, I've got to make a video on this. So I kind of put it in a presentation format just to make it visually more pleasing for you guys to listen through. But otherwise, okay, I'm going to share the link of the website where I got this from, which is all about demystifying CERN, okay, and all the 666 symbolism, Revelations, end time scripture, what's going on with the rise of this antichristic technology, black hole portals, okay, the transhumanist agenda, transgenderist agenda, and this blurring of good and evil, and these kind of boundaries of polarity with the rise of this kind of Luciferian satanic takeover that's happening before our very eyes. All right, so I got this article from this website, really, really good website. So kudos to this author. I want to give credit to this author. Okay, I think it's under a pen name, but it's really good at amalgamating a lot of the prophecies, a lot of scientific research, and a lot of what has been dispensed in the guardian materials, okay, and other seers and psychics, etc., and channelers, okay, and just makes these wonderful articles that otherwise helps us probe into the true nature of reality, our history, the agendas in different races, okay, and especially the signs and symbols that govern our worlds. Okay, as Confucius says, signs and symbols do govern the world. And when you are born into a system where it is very much controlled as a control matrix, Saturn Moon matrix, right, where you're blank slated, that's part of the beast technology. BST is blank slate technology, okay, and you come in, they can basically tell you anything they want and you'll believe it is to be true, and that's called indoctrination. And that's why they do what they do, scramble our DNA, okay, in order for us not to be able to access our cellular matrix. But thanks to the likes of these individuals, and a lot of star seeds and indigos like yourself here on the planet are helping to change the mathematical infrastructure to allow us to be able to, bring in higher energies to reformulate our DNA strands and all this junk DNA for us to be able to remember, okay, and back basically bridge a connection back to our soul and back to how God originally intended, our eternal life systems to be created, and these safe zones that are going to host us for those individuals who are on the path of not wanting to be assimilated by the AI, hive mind, 666, satanic, Luciferian technologies, okay, of all these different races and these demons. But otherwise, we want to go back to the true authentic self, okay, of ascension and being in harmony with the law of one, respecting others' free will and God's creation and energy, okay, and knowing what that is actually like, not having to be in a system where you have to eat in order to perpetuate your life force in your body and your material existence and manifest form, because we are actually in a semi-fallen system where we take on the virus. And when we take on a virus, we obviously have to learn to transmute that virus back to what was originally intended. But if you don't know what was originally intended, you can be trapped inside this prison lifetime after lifetime without any idea, and each time you come back your memory's gone and you just repeat the cycle unconsciously, and that is, to me, hell. Okay, even though this is a semi-fallen system, this is, I believe, one of the higher levels of hell, or lower levels if we see it that way. Okay, there's obviously beyond the black hole those time matrices. I've traveled down a few of them, and it's a lot denser than this one, so there are a lot worse places to be, trust me, but this is definitely one type of hell, albeit a lightened version, but it's about time that we all kind of snap out of our amnesia and spells that they've been casting over us for so long, in order to bring back the truth, shine light in the darkness, because you don't know until you know evil, you know nothing. Okay, and it's so important for any spiritual origin this time to expose the darkness, face the facts, face the music, look around you, look what's going on, know where to put your faith and trust, stop venerating these antichristic symbols, ideologies, philosophies, and individuals, which is unfortunately what a lot of people are doing, is putting their trust in man, putting their trust in the flesh, which is carbon-based, 666, it is of Satan. Everyone who's otherwise not done the work is subconsciously being covertly controlled by these satanic, demonic, spiritual, quantic forces. Okay, and come back to remembering who you are, what is originally meant to be intended of these reality systems by God through what Jesus Christ represents, which is the knowledge of sin, which is why they hate him so much, because they want to blend the boundaries between good and evil, make good evil, evil good, okay, and mix pleasure and pain. And all these things, all the genders, transgenderism, transhumanism, sex up the technology, get us to kind of invite it into our lives, all these black mirrors, these black screens, it's all black magic, black, nobility. That's why they love it. It's all Saturn worship, Satan worship, okay, and Satan is on the rise, the Antichrist is on the rise, and unfortunately, ever since 2020, what we've been through, as we know, they have, spellbinded a lot of souls, unfortunately, and they're bagging them and tagging them, no thanks to the mass psychological operation since 2020, and now all the technology that's being rolled out. So please pay attention and stay positive and hopeful, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, which is what this presentation is all about, to raise the awareness and send prayers out to the angels and to God to prevention is always better than cure, to maybe stop some of these experiments, because they're firing this thing up again in 2023, and as we'll see in this presentation, that there's particular timelines of this thing being activated, which is all strategically done in order to counteract the natural energies that are trying to be anchored here on the planet, through all the indigos and starseeds during the stellar activation cycle, okay, in this war that we're in. But we literally have a beast machine that is right here on Earth, trying to rip open portals in order to allow demons and spirits to come through and inevitably create a black hole that's going to suck our whole reality matrix into their subtime distortion black hole matrix, so they can feed off of and perpetuate their immortality for another few billion years, until they have to start probing into other reality systems. So I think the time has come in these reality systems where God says, enough's enough. Okay, the free will of evil being able to be explored to the extreme has come to a point where we've got to intervene. We've got to reset this time matrix, and that's where this whole second coming of the Christ comes in. Okay, and there is going to be a separating from the wheat from the chaff, and Jesus Christ's second coming is not going to be so forgiving. Okay, so it's so important to get your shit in order. For those of you, repent, I think, is going to be something that you want to do, which is just basically a knowledge of sin, okay, and the sinful things that you might have done in your life, not to feel guilty, but just to acknowledge that and set your intent on living a pure life and what that means to you in pure innocence and grace and love and harmony with everyone else, okay, and God's creation, and separate yourself from the pentagram, which is the whole point of repent. Re means no. Pent is the root word of pentagram, pentagon, as you'll see in this presentation, is at the basis of this twisted mathematical finite life death science Metatronic technology that they've been using in order to harvest souls and consciousness in order to perpetuate their existence, these false creator gods, okay, the ones that have defected, Anu Elohim, that have affected against God and have gone off and created such a mess with all these other races and entities, spirits and demons that have just caused carnage. Okay, so stay positive. At the end of the day, Jesus Christ, if you're on the path of Jesus and you're respecting your temple and you're living in harmony with nature, and that's what you want to intend, your higher self, you're still connected to your soul self, etc., guardians, guides, all the angels, God and Jesus, you're going to be fine. Okay, but it's just a matter of knowing that things might get a bit turbulent, okay, but holding out, because what is inevitably coming is going to surpass any short-term pain that you may experience in these timelines as things get sorted out, and have full faith and trust in God, in Jesus, okay, in your guardians or whatever religious denomination you're in, okay, your higher self, but just have that intent on focusing on Jesus, which is just a representation of all that is true, good, harmonious, loving, okay, and caring in the world. And that's basically where we're going to end up, bringing back the mathematics. Okay, if you look at Ashiana Dean's teachings with the Ghana materials, there is a crystal river fail-safe host in kind of matrix transplant that's being put in the planet for those over the next 1,000 years, which is all part of the 1,000 years of peace, to come back into remembrance of who we are, of the nature of reality, and that we were made as angels, as cosmic doctors in these reality systems, in order to specifically incarnate into fallen systems, to take on the codes, to work to transmute them, okay, which is a very privileged responsibility to take, but we must rise up and remember who we are as guardians, as we're originally kind of created to be, and snap out of the child archetype and get rid of all these satanic, Luciferian, subconscious scripts that have been imbued in us, ever since we came into these systems. Okay, and that's why, just look around you. I know for a fact God is here, the divine is here. We are here as star seeds, as part of the divine collective consciousness of God, in order to help raise the vibration of the planet and help provide a host, okay, in order to accommodate the changing, the shifting tides and sands of these timelines, in order to allow this separation to occur with the utmost grace, smoothness. Hopefully this is what we should pray for, the utmost grace and smoothness and loving care of this interdimensional split. Okay, how that's going to look like, I've got no idea. Not many souls have been around long enough to experience this in other reality systems. Okay, so anything can happen, but this is why information is so important. It's the most important commodity in the universe. Is knowledge. Knowledge is power. Through knowledge we can dispel a lot of the darkness that is otherwise cast upon us, and that's the whole idea of these presentations I put together. So even though they're long, they are so important and pivotal to any soul seeking kind of, say, redemption, but a path back to love and innocence and purity. Okay, and that's what will differentiate the wheat from the chaff in these end times. Those who are able to sit down and actually read through these articles and seek the higher self, seek to strengthen their connection with God and all that is true, compared to those who are just, brain dead, watching Netflix, scrolling through Instagram, and idolizing man and woman and all these false gods. And just look around us, right? So many individuals are taking on the spiritual archetype of Lucifer and Satan, which are pure narcissists, pure egotistical, arrogant narcissists. And I know that for a fact. Just look around you. That's what this black hole technology has sprung. Everyone is doing selfies. All they care about is themselves. It's I this, iPhone that. I, look at me, look at me, look at me. Look what I'm doing. It's getting to the extreme of people trying to get attention with the shit they're posting. And it just is sickening. The consciousness on this planet is tragically very, very sick and backwards and distorted, because this rise of the Antichrist has invaded their consciousness, and it's just in the airways with the frequencies already and these entities that masquerade behind them spiritually. It's really coming in and being embodied, and you can see it everywhere. A lot of people body snatched, and it's just not a great assessment, put it that way. So that's how I'm seeing things, and I know a lot of other people who are tuned into their spirit and the higher self are seeing things as well, that a lot of people are thinking they're God, so taking on the spiritual aspects of their spiritual father, which have taken them over, which is Satan, Lucifer. Okay, so that's why they hate Jesus, because there is only one creator, and we're not, yes, we're made in God's image, but we're not a God. We're probably an angel in that regard, but yes, we have been given custody of these lands in certain time-space locations of planetary Stargate systems, but we should never ever think that we're greater or better or equal to God, because we're not. We are a product, we're a child of God, okay? We're the beneficiary of God, entrusted to take care of the lands and God's creation, okay? We can't ever take on the concept of, oh yeah, I'm God, and that's unfortunately the New Age movement has invaded and taught a lot of people, which is pure Luciferian doctrine, is satanic doctrine, which I know God doesn't like and Jesus doesn't like, because I've got the encryption, I can feel it in me, of how God sees things and how Jesus sees things down here too. And it's very distasteful when I come across these characters who are very arrogant, narcissistic, and full of pride and ego. Okay, but we've all been there, we've all got certain elements because we've taken on these sick codes. It's a matter of becoming aware and working to transmute them. Anyone who has got these codes can be healed. That's the whole point of being saved, but it's kind of like, don't leave it too late. And unfortunately, we're kind of in the 11th hour, given what's going on. So, pay attention, please. Those of you who are listening, and maybe send some emails out to CERN if this is, before they're finished their third particle collisions, to shut the thing down. And just don't even tempt fate with these, what they're wanting to achieve with this kind of technology. And it's just everywhere. It's so easy to see the signs and symbols, 666, as I said, Confucius. Signs and symbols rule the world. All right, So enough of me blabbering. Let's just smash this out. Okay, there's a lot of slides here, but it's going to be so good. Okay, which is all based off the back of, that article. Okay, that's very self-explanatory, and we've got all the images here for you guys. So it's going to be visually very pleasing, hopefully orally very pleasing as well, listening to my sound tones and vibrations. Okay, and we'll work through this and know that you are loved, you are protected, you are guarded during these times. I'm sending you my love, and we're all in this together, and we're going to stay hopeful, because what is going to come off the back of all this carnage that may be experienced is something so beautiful if only you just have patience and trust. Okay, long-term vision. Everyone's still stuck in short-termism, myopic nature. Okay, we've got to think of the long term. What are you willing to sacrifice? How much are you willing to suffer in order to enter into the kingdom of heaven? Okay, that's what you've got to ask yourself. A lot of people, like I said, those who are of the world, unfortunately, as you saw, if it was faced of losing your job or taking the jab, they took the jab. I mean, that just shows where their faith lies. It's in this world. You don't take any faith or trust in God to help guide you during these times. So, pay attention, please, people. Right, here we go. So let's dive straight in. So it says in this article, CERN was established on September 29th, 1954. It is headquartered on the French-Swiss border in the northwest suburbs of Geneva, Switzerland. It enjoys extraterritorial rights and is not restricted by national laws. CERN is home to the largest particle physics laboratory in the world and the birthplace of the World Wide Web. The organisation currently has 23 member states, and Israel is currently the only non-European member. What is puzzling is that there is a Hindu statue of Shiva on the scientific research base of this European country. The sculpture, which symbolises Shiva as the Lord of Dance, is styled and proportioned according to Hindu art texts. Nataraja is considered to be one of the highest form of Shiva. The word is a Sanskrit term. Nata means performance, drama, dance, and Raja means king, lord, king. The two most common dance forms of Shiva are Lasya, a gentle dance form, which is associated with the creation of the world, and Ananda Tandava, the dance of bliss, an energetic dance form, which is associated with the destruction of the world. In essence, Lasya and Tandava are just two aspects of Shiva's nature, both creation and destruction. For he destroys to create, destroys to rebuild. Lord Shiva is the god of destruction among the three main gods of Hinduism. So you've got to think, okay, why would they put a statue of a god of destruction outside her with a hidden logo that shows 666 and everything else? I mean, people don't think anymore. So this is the problem. They're taught what to think and not how to think, and put two and two together. Okay, it's insanity. Anyway, it continues. The metaphor of the cosmic dance unites ancient mythology, religious art, and modern physics. It's like they rub it in our nose. They mock us because they all put it out in the open. Okay, but their hubris will be their downfall. I guarantee it. CERN has shot promotional film on the theme of Shiva dance and symmetry. It's a short film of dance drama filmed inside CERN. Official introduction. Taking the church-like majestic Large Hadron Collider as his theatre, a modern physicist searches for the tiniest original particle and discovers a never-ending love. Symmetry was created to accompany the promotional documentary Symmetry Unraveled, which tells the story of the collision of science and art in the world's largest machine, the particle accelerator. Complemented with the ballet film Symmetry, the documentary reveals the crux of humanity's fascination with the unknown, a shared curiosity in search for the smallest particle. Okay, so we'll watch this video right now, okay, and come back and decode it. So as always, they always put a lot of symbolism and truth and predictive programming in their adverts and their movies and TV shows, etc. No, it's like a black hole opening up and sucking people in. They're falling into it. The pit. Revelations 9:11. The bottomless pit. Abaddon. Oh, this is so good, man. This knowledge. Live for knowledge and knowing this stuff. It's amazing. Right. Scary, but amazing. Right, the 2-minute promotional video begins. In the process of searching for the tiniest particles, a physicist is pondering with a geometric drawing. Pay attention to the geometric patterns in the drawing. Okay, the drawn figure is the Platonic solid, which is regarded as the creation of the universe. Structural cornerstones corresponding to the 5 elements of matter. The Platonic solids include the star tetrahedron, fire, the hexahedron, earth, the octahedron, air, the dodecahedron, ether, and the icosahedron, water. The author of The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life believes that the Platonic solid comes from the Metatonic cube, the first information system of the fruit of life, and the 5 Platonic solids are all hidden in the Metatonic cube. So immediately afterwards, the following words appeared on the screen. He discovered the dance of the universe. That he here refers to the physicist and implies the Hindu god Shiva. Okay, the cosmic dancer, Shiva, is good at dancing, and his dance is called the Dance of Destruction. This statue at the CERN base depicts Shiva dancing. He dances in a circular closed arch of fire, symbolically representing the cosmic fire in Hindu cosmology, which creates all and consumes all in a cyclic existence or cycle of life. So then the screen switches to the inside of CERN, where 5 scientific researchers are dancing the dance of Shiva's destruction on the platform next to the equipment. Note that the details here are 5 people, and 5 people can form a regular pentagon, which contains the golden section proportion. The golden section phi is closely related to the number 5, and the value phi is needed to construct a regular pentagon. The phi ratio exists in all conventional pentagonal figures such as pentagons, pentagrams, etc., which seems to imply to us that these geometries associated with the number 5 mean destruction. Okay, and that's why you have phi phonetically is at the beginning of the word 5. Again, it ties in. It probably gives another added dimensional meaning as well to repent. Okay, because Ari is a prefix, that means no. Pent is the root word of pentagram with this 5 geometry. Doesn't mean 5 itself is evil, but what they're using it for, the mathematics it represents with the phi ratios, you'll see the Fibonacci spiral comparing the antichristic and christic mathematics. It is born of a very evil kind of, death science technology, okay, which is all based on entropy. So the word repent, I was kind of avoidant of that when I was awakening, thinking that, it's making me feel guilty, it's all from false creator gods, etc. But I think it's a very good thing to do, because it's basically just representing your knowledge of evil and your awareness of sin, which is what Jesus represents. And so you know what is good, and so you know what is evil, and so you actually detest that which is evil and that which goes against the law of one, which is basically respecting one another, loving one another, and not tearing things apart, destroying things and treating them as if you're just a deranged toddler, just crushing ants and stuff like that. And that's how you see creation. So we have here interestingly, the root words of 5, as I mentioned before, phi and Fibonacci are similar in pitch. Not only are the root words similar in tone, but there is also a special relationship between the golden ratio and the Fibonacci sequence. That is, the ratio of adjacent numbers in the Fibonacci sequence gradually tends to the golden ratio. These numbers and geometries are all related to the static phase lock of the pentagon of the dislocation of the sun cross, which is the Metatonic geometry that forces our local universe to be a closed system. So there you go. Okay, you've got to repent against this shit, because it's all being used against us energetically to keep us phase locked and static in this dead light pattern. In a place that looks like a desert, the scientist staggered toward the priest in black in the distance. The scene kept switching rapidly between the two. The white scientist was working hard in the laboratory. After a trance meditation experience, he began to dance. When dancing, the time of the watch on the wrist is quickly reversed. Not only the hands of the watch are reversed counterclockwise, but the dance movements inside are all rotated counterclockwise. Pay attention to the details of this watch. which can be called an important clue to solve the mystery of why CERN was created. In quantum physics, there is a term called time reversal symmetry. The black pastel gave him a hand, and the scientist was inspired. The scientist who got out of trouble came to another world. He and the priest appeared in the pure desert. The colour of the desert made them feel like they were in the vast space of the universe. The circle seemed to be a planet, and the scientist was circled in the, around the planet. And the scientist was circled, and then on the round planet, he dances in the centre. This is completely different from his previous state. With the help of religious priests and priests, as a scientific researcher, he has obtained salvation. Einstein once said, when a scientist climbs a high mountain, he finds that the theologian. Einstein once said, when a scientist climbs a high mountain, he finds that Einstein once said, when a scientist climbs a high mountain, he finds that the theologian. Einstein once said, when a scientist climbs a high mountain, he finds that the theologian is already sitting there. In other words, the end of science is theology. In stark contrast, the black pastor stood outside the circle. He was not restricted by the circle. He was free to walk around outside the circle, watching the scientists inside the circle dance, showing that everything was under his surveillance and in control. But the scientist did not find the pastor watching him, celebrating his joy like no one else was there. The setting of the picture and the plot represents the collision of black and white, the collision of theology and science. And you kind of see it, it's almost like being quite ominous, the way it was walking, the priest, which all in black is representing Satan, kind of waiting for, I guess, the portal to open to come in, but he's secretly controlling things beyond the veil. That's how I interpret that. The weirdest behaviour picture appeared, severally nearly naked men and women entangled together. In the cartoon Conspiracy Workplace, it was revealed that lizard people like group sex. So they are performing group sex of lizard people, similar. The picture has appeared in many European and American movies such as Jupiter Ascending. I'm not too sure about that, but then the screen gave a close-up, what they mean about that anyway. Then the screen gave a close-up of the black priest, and then switched to the naked white scientist. His private parts were mosaiced, and there were wisps of mist around him, making the scientist ecstatic, and he wanted to reach out to catch the clergy priest, representing divinity. The picture implicitly expressed the sex climax. And these guys, again, through sex magic, black magic is very much a manipulation of sexual energy, but done in a way which is very sadistic and anti-Christic, as we know, with the things that they get up to, especially with children, and with the extreme nature of what they get up to with the group sex rituals, which is, in Eyes Wide Shut, with Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, with Stanley Kubrick, who, died shortly after making that movie, because, apparently there's a scene which otherwise involved the ritual of killing someone, and then they have an orgy afterwards, and that's what they do. They're kind of like blending pain with pleasure, and that's all part of the god Pan, Satan, the Baphomet, worshipping, all the sexual organs. It's all about sex magic, sex is probably the most powerful energy in the universe. They use that in order to create and subvert and invert the natural creative flows and energies, the most potent energy forces in the universe, in order to achieve their desired results. So the next picture is a large-scale particle collider collision experiment. The results of the experiment showed that collision failed. The high-speed collision of particles opened a singularity in space-time. A beam of rays penetrated from the center of the Tai Chi diagram, accompanied by a loud bang. With the sound of the explosion, the powerful space-time field of the black hole was opened. The scientist and the long-haired woman were separated, and the previous nude situation was carried over here, but at this time the two were wearing clothes, and the union of sex turned into love, separate. Symmetry is the basic concept of particle physics, and CP represents the combination of charge conjugation. Conjugate, symmetry, and parity, symmetry. Conjugation refers to a pair that matches according to certain rules. In layman's terms, it is twins or twins. Parity is a space. That's interesting. I actually had a twin flame icon pop up then of Pinterest. It is twins or twins. Parity is a space transformation property involving the position vector in physical space, and we also involve time reversal, which can be simply understood as left-right symmetry or mirror symmetry. In social popular culture, CP represents a pair of male and female couple, that is the combination of yin and yang, which is also the concept of Tai Chi diagram. The CERN filmed the documentary Symmetry Unraveled, the real meaning of which is to disintegrate or break up the CP symmetry of particles. The name echoes the image in the promotional film Symmetry, in which a beam of particles shoots out from the centre of the Taoist diagram, breaking or dismantling the symmetry of yin yang. So again, it's very satanic. Their ideology and philosophy is to break things apart, divide and conquer, separating, right? That's kind of like the destructive death science of kind of probing into the nature of reality through using destructive technology, rather than tapping into the internal flows of source and connecting to your higher self, where everything is known. And there's no need to kind of like break things apart, rip things apart, in order to find the truth. So the premonition shown in the film is very obvious. The priest in black is a symbol of the dark false god. He always stands outside the circle of the earth, representing the negative alien forces outside the veil. Under the guidance of the priest in black, the scientists danced Shiva's dance of destruction, which showed that negative alien forces secretly manipulated everything. At the end of the film, a dance opera film inside CERN that LHC is particularly emphasised. The dance of destruction takes place inside the Large Hadron Collider, implying that the particle collision experiment will bring about a devastating disaster. Hopefully that will be avoided. The Large Hadron Collider is a high energy physics. So that's just the introductory video. So there's a lot even to unpack and decode from that alone, which they're kind of giving us so much hints and clues as to what they want to do, right? It's right in front of our faces, eyes wide shut. A lot of the masses got no idea. Like they go to the movies and they come out of that thinking, oh, that's great, yeah, it was a good acting by that particular actor, and oh, that was cool, that scene. Not seeing the hidden allegorical meanings, the motion scripture. That's the New Testament of this time. It's all in movies and TV shows and things like this. Artistic expression, talking to our subconscious, which is all symbolic, artistry, metaphors, allegories, parables. Okay, so it continues. The Large Hadron Collider is a high-energy physics facility that accelerates and collides protons. It's currently the largest and highest energy particle accelerator in the world. Provides previous collider experiments such as the Teratron accelerator at Fermilab in the US and the Large Hadron Collider's predecessor, the Large Electron Positron Collider, were based in the same design concept. The energy generated by the Large Hadron Collider is 7 million times that of the earliest particle accelerator, and the temperature generated by the collision is more than 100,000 times higher than that in the centre of the Sun. The unprecedented high energy and extremely high collision frequency mean that the experiment there are unpredictable unknowns and security. Okay, so basically, yeah, there's even a lot of physicists have commented that, it's dangerous what they're doing. In a religious sense, just as the cross is a symbol of Christianity and the crescent moon is a symbol of Islam, Shiva's destruction dance is a symbol of Hinduism. Some readers are still not sure about the nature of Lord Shiva and think that there is a statue of Shiva outside the base facility. Maybe this is an accident. In fact, CERN has already told you the answer. Faced with many doubts from the outside world, CERN had to stand up and explain publicly that this statue was a gift from the Indian Atomic Bureau. The statue of Shiva symbolized destruction and creation and expressed scientists' belief in the Big Bang Theory. Do you really believe this reason? It's quite a good cover-up. So let's take a look at the CERN logo and take a closer look at its shape. It looks like 666 and the Eye of Horus. Horus is depicted as a falcon, or an Egyptian god with the head of a falcon. According to mythology, there was a conflict between Horus and Set. Set tore out Horus's eye, which was repaired by Thoth and returned to Horus. Therefore, Thoth is the doctor of the Eye of Horus. The Eye of Horus is a stylized falcon's eye. The symbol has a line that extends behind and below the corner of the eye and ends in a curl at the end. A curved line representing a spiral. The CERN logo is a spiral curve. The curves not only form the left and right eyes of Horus, but also form the shape of three numbers, 6, overlapping together to form the CERN logo, as you can see. It's quite obvious. With the Horus, though, I'm not really too sure what she's getting at with that. Because I know Horus represents the sun. The sun is otherwise Stargate 4, which kind of, to me, represents that Christ-like light-giving energy, which opposes Saturn, which is Satan, which is cold and dry, governs the winter. The sun, Horus, that's what that's meant to depict in the Egyptian myth, is the sun, which is like the Christ, and that's why they're always battling each other, and Horus ends up defeating Set. But yeah, Set takes his eye first, and that's why Set always does the one-eye symbolism. So I don't know, I disagree and say that Horus is otherwise like a good god, if that represents, if that makes sense in terms of how they're representing that energy, that archetype, to be that of the Christ, that of God, rather than of Satan, Set. Okay, but yeah, again, discern for yourself. So it goes on. World Wide Web, also known as WWW, Global Wide Area Network, is a product of CERN's interrogation project. It was initiated by Tim Berners-Lee and Robert Carrier in 1989. This year I was born. And the first website was built in 1991. Interestingly, there are 26 letters in English. W is the 23rd letter. 2 times 3 equals 6. The Hebrew letter corresponding to W is Vav, and its value is 6. So www stands for 666. And every time you type www on the keyboard, you're typing 666. Recall that every day when you turn on your Apple computer, click on Google Chrome and enter www in the address bar. Such simple and frequent daily actions you have subtly linked to 666 3 times. You can't escape it. It's nuts. But like I said, when you live, this technology is the spawn of the Satanists, of black hole, demonic, hell realm, death science technology. If you just compare the eternal life Christic organic technology, where we're breatharian, living off the eternal life flows of source with all the plasmas and the different types of energies, and we would have completely different organs to accommodate for that in order to our bodies to maintain itself through breathing in this energy. It'd be a completely different existence. You'd be able to tap into innate crystalline based technology. There'd be none of these black mirror devices or being implanted and using cybernetics. That is what's opposing God. It's man versus machine. It's God versus machine, which is depicted in so many movies. The Matrix, Altered Carbon, right? You got even American Gods, which is a new TV series that depicts that. The old pagan gods going up against the new AI gods using technology. Okay, so it's a real problem. It's the Luciferian light that's coming in, all artificial intelligence, artificial consciousness, artificial bodies, metaverse. Okay, it's very, very obvious that is the battle that's going on. Avatar, when they come and destroy those beautiful Christic organic worlds that are purely natural for the machines. That's what's going on. Right, CERN's main facility is the Large Hadron Collider, located on the Swiss-French border outside Geneva. The construction of the Large Hadron Collider took more than 20 years and cost a total of 7.5 billion euros. It was built in cooperation with more than 100 countries and research institutes around the world, and 10,000 scientists around the world participated in the research work. This is the most complex and expensive scientific facility built by mankind so far, and it is also the largest particle collider in the world. The LHC is designed as a circular tunnel using superconducting magnets with a total length of 27 kilometers and a depth of 175 meters. Just going back to the 666 symbolism, if you look at the World Economic Forum as well, and there's so many other logos, right? And these guys at the pinnacle of the agenda that they want to push forward for Agenda 2030, again, it just makes sense with everything that they're trying to roll out, with what they're wanting to achieve, where this is all stemming from. So the picture to the right is the top view of the LHC structure. There is a small circle with 2 tails inside the big circle, forming a 666 pattern. It's obvious that the CERN logo is taken from the base layout. There are 8 stations in the CERN circular tunnel, namely Station 1 Merin, which is located in the French town of Saint-Genès-Prouly, which is the point where the big circle and the small circle intersect. This is the birthplace of CERN. Since 1954, it has been the location of the main site since years. The second station of the LHC clockwise is located in Cergy, also in the small town of Saint-Genès-Prouly. This station is responsible for the ALICE experiment. The LHC's third station is at Crozet, which is where the beam is monitored. The fourth station is Echeniveaux, or whatever that is, how you pronounce that, probably butchered that, where special equipment is installed to speed up the beam circulation in the machine. Station 5 is at Cessy, where the CMS detector is located. Station 6 is at Besonix, which is the end of the particle acceleration route. The Ornex base provides underground access to Site 7, located beneath Colex Bossi. Station 8 of the circular tunnel is at Ferney-Voltaire, the site of the LHC experiment. CERN's second largest base at the head of the number 6 spans the 2 townships of Prevessin-Morens and Saint-Genès-Pouilly. Okay, so these 8 sites form a regular octagon and are located on the border between Switzerland and France. I've already guessed the behind-the-scenes organisation behind the construction of CERN, which is the Octagon Group, located in Davos, Switzerland. The same group behind the Economic Forum and the Fourth Wave Transhumanist Great Reset. There we go. They have a black sun chain of command extending to the moon and other planets. These same lunar entities and their preferred lineages have been managing various surface catastrophe, mass murder by obliterating selected population areas. The moon, as a magnetic weapon, has always been part of their arsenal against surface humans. Okay, and this is from Dylan Monroe, which is the Deep State Mapping Project. If you go on his website, type that in Google, he's got some great maps of research that he's done, but he's kind of otherwise broken down the Octagon Group, and he's got presentations on this on Rumble, I believe. You just put in Deep State Mapping Project or Dylan Monroe, it will show up. It otherwise depicts all this octagon geometry, which again is alluded to here, with even the shape of the collider itself, which is where the doorway is, I guess, where they open it up, and also the I Ching tetragram, whatever it's called as well, and it's everywhere. And the spider web, spiders have 8 legs, got the octopus entities as well. It's a huge problem, okay, which is everywhere, which is all part of some of these black hole races that are trying to take over living systems. So these 8 sites form a regular octagon and are located on the border between Switzerland and France. I've already guessed that behind the scenes. Okay, so this is, basically same text but different imagery. So my experience on my other channel, my channel Middle89, so I'll probably upload this into 2 channels just to get it out there. I've seen the cube surround the moon, which the moon is kind of a part of, which is projected from otherwise this cube-based structure that exists beyond the veil, which is basically what the moon is doing. It's deflecting magnetic light from our pineal gland, which is why it's so atrophied. So we can't see beyond the veil. We can't see into the 4th astral dimension of where these things and entities are hiding out. All this technology is hiding out in order to obviously manipulate and control things down here in this controlled net. And you can see this kind of Thothian Leviathan AI cube system because it is linked to Saturn. A cube is otherwise got 6 sides, and you can kind of also represent it on a 2D diagram to be kind of like a hexagram, and that's why you've got the North Pole of Saturn. There's a hexagram shaped storm on the top of Saturn, which is otherwise another wormhole network, which is bridging straight into their wormhole structure back into their black hole matrices, okay, which is the black hole of the center of Milky Way galaxy, effectively, okay. And you got all these other planets as well depicted here, like Mars and Pluto, the moon. The sun has got this kind of phase lock on it as well, which is also helping to lock Earth into the density that it's in at the moment, which we are. If you listen to Ashiana Dean's dispensations, that Earth in the whole solar system came about as a result of wars on Tara, which is basically Earth's soul level identity in density 2. Okay, and then Gaia will be Earth's oversoul entity up in density 3, which is otherwise depicted as the Polaris star. And then down in density 2, Tara is otherwise our Alcylone star in the Pleiades star system. And as a result of the wars, the kind of quanta through the metaphysics and the physics meant that there was obviously a rupture, and it fell with the matter based and kind of reformed itself as Earth and as these other planets, but it's all come from Tara. Okay, so if you get your head around that, it's very advanced physics, but Ashiana Dean explains it very well with the diagrams, better than I can, as to how that happens when breaking down the whole structure of how these holographic time matrices are created through the scalar wave templates of parta chi, parta k, parta cum units, which give and actually form the basis of light, sound, and matter to be formed. Okay, the smallest measure of the existence of the consciousness of God that gives birth to these Higgs bosons and particles and atoms that build upon that template. So it's mad. And so this cube technology has been used to subjugate and control all of those aspects of creation. And I've seen the cube in the moon, as testified in this video, on a wheat mushroom trip I did back in Bali, and it was quite amazing. I saw a rainbow bridge connect to my chest, and then after that the cube revealed itself, and then two entities came above the cube to look down at me in like a phantom projection, quite large, dressed in ancient samurai attire with huge horns either side of their head, which later I found out to be a depiction of Enki and Enlil. Okay, so it's like these horned gods, and I believe they're part of obviously the Anunnaki, the fallen Anu Elohim, okay, in order to go after humans, to enslave them, because we were imbued with the codes to control the stargates, and they want to control the stargates. You're going to control the stargates, you're going to take over the beings that got the codes, which is why there's a lot of, I guess, demons masquerading as humans, okay, and taking on the human form, because we have been infiltrated, and that's all through the bioregenesis programs, right? So we actually agreed to do that, but then they defect, then use their souls who have come into the human body once they accrete to a certain level, so they can gain control of the Stargate system and completely take them over, but be in human form, right? Which is why light can be very deceiving with these guys, but the true sound tone vibration of someone's soul signature is what is going to differentiate an angel from a demon. And like I found in many astral encounters with these entities, if you simply ask them what is your truth, what is your name, and show me your truth, what is your agenda, they can't stand the word and the frequency truth, and they just would show them, and Jesus Christ as well, and they would actually start, their illusion will start breaking down, and they will reveal their true form to you, which is one of like a Picasso painting with some of these demonic entities that I've seen, which are painted otherwise in medieval paintings of representations of demons, which is very real, like bat's ears, rat faces, rat noses mixed with humans. It's like a hybrid of all these abomination animals that you put into one, with eyes in their bellies and teeth in the back of their cheeks and hooves, and it's just horrible looking entities, that if you just mention the word Jesus Christ and or truth, anything to do with that, the light, love, they can't stand it. So it's a frequency. So yeah, that's why, none more so than here in this 3D plane, there's a lot of entities, tapping into the biofields of individuals at this time, that they might look and appear angelic, and that's the art of the Luciferian Anunnaki, right? The art of seduction, the 11th strand DNA, but deep down, their soul is stained, and they're just a Luciferian. They're narcissistic, and they're liars. They're deceitful. You can spot them a mile away. So once you develop that discernment within yourself, you just know, and you're connected to God, you can spot them a mile off. And I've had quite a few come into my life, unfortunately. I spot them a mile off, but bleeding hearts, such as as guardians that we do have bleeding hearts sometimes. We can see that they can be healed, but yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath for these guys. But yeah, it's very interesting nonetheless. You can see this is the whole network of the shit that's going on in our whole cosmos, even at the galactic level, but even all the way up to density 4, like the fourth harmonic universe of our time reality system that so many people got no idea exists. It's a massive arena for consciousness to go and explore itself, but they've really gone to town over the last 250 billion years, and this is their infrastructure. So again, signs and symbols rule the world. Look at where all these signs and symbols are. Okay, you see it everywhere, you start noticing it now. This is all about raising the awareness, so you're not unconsciously venerating your energy towards these signs and symbols, right, which are otherwise talking back to you too, and projecting what they represent onto your bodies, and instructing your cells to operate in your consciousness, to operate in concordance with the frequencies that is emitting. Okay, so that's why it's so powerful. Knowledge is so powerful when combating black magic, because you can stop it in its tracks when you become conscious of the kind of hidden spell work that is being transmitted and received to you by your cells and consciousness all the time, whether it's just in the movies, on the radio, the music, right, in the symbols. You can just dispel it. You recognize it, and you can just program it already, because you become aware that you don't want to give any power to it, and you're going to transmute that back to the original Christic organic mathematics. Simple. And even these tattoos, because like I said, we come in to these systems and we all take on these ill codes, and I was ignorant to venerate a lot of these signs and symbols, and got quite a few of them tattooed to me, like the caduceus, which is the phase lock, kundalini, serpentine, which basically phase locks our chakras, okay, and it helps create the static field in our aura. And I've got this, tattooed on me and stuff, but I had to work to transmute that, but otherwise a good reminder for me of the knowledge of evil, right? That's why we come here, knowledge of good and evil. And we're certainly learning fast. Like I said, until you know evil, you know nothing. All right, so it's always best to be prepared and know what these guys are getting up to and how they're subjugating the masses, what technologies they're using. So we note that octagonal geometry can be found in many ancient buildings built on powerful ley lines that permeate the Earth's grid and that use black cube designs for religious worship, such as the black cube in the field of light in Mecca. It all goes back to the moon and lunar control. The artificial matrix of the moon became an embedded source of magnetic control using sound waves to form a major octagonal pattern to manipulate and harvest the vast energies of the Earth's grid network. It's a great presentation by David Icke called the Saturn Moon Matrix, and he breaks that down perfectly well. Okay, and the moon, if you break down the word moon, is at the root of money, okay, moony, the monetary system, monarchy, the moonarchy, all right, the monai, which is the one eye, right, the money that you use. It's all going back to that dark pale satellite, which is referred to the dark satellite in a lot of old occult books. I think one was Thomas H. Burgoyne, The Light of Egypt, and that's basically one of the main tunnels and funnels and portals of these demonic entities to pour into the earth and to siphon energy and harvest souls into Saturn and then into their black hole system. Okay, so very, very real. That's why people venerate Moon Day, Monday, and cube worship. They're basically willingly giving their energy, soul, life force energy to Saturn moon matrix system. And the moon is otherwise like the HQ of Lucifer, and it's one of the eyes of observing. It's like an observation tower basically, and a portal, and obviously manipulation station for energy in order to deflect light away from our pineal glands so we can't see what's going on. And that's what they're referring to. They all see an eye on the top of the pyramid. Is the moon. It's the moon eye. It's the one eye, mono. Okay, Moony governs the moonitary system and the moonarchy, the moonstraw cycle, right? The souls coming in and out of this fucking matrix. Okay, Christic systems. I think I remember hearing Ashiana Dean talking about the women would only ovulate every 3 years because they knew there was a perfect balance that needed to be kept in these living systems, right? Whereas now it's kind of like sped up because they want to get as many as their foot soldiers they can on the earth and as much soul quantum as they can on the earth during this time in order to have this final end drama battle of all the energy and the things they want to anchor into the grids of the earth. So it's all a battle of energy. And energy at the end of the day is just consciousness expressed in many different forms. Some sentient, some not. So the false magnetic force of the moon matrix is transmitting and sending out the artificial waves from the moon, and it's designed as the geometrical shape of the 8 radial symmetry lines in the octagon. The interior angle of any octagon is 1080 degrees, and the octagon has a frequency of 1080 Hz, which can be harmonically doubled to form and transmit a geometric model of a black cube with a frequency of 2160 Hz. The site of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem is the second Graal point, star point, or stargate, and the dome of the rock in the center is built in an octagonal plan aligned with the lunar base, so this is a matrix of black cubes. Okay, the Graal point is a very important point for the Stargate system on the Earth. It's one of the main control sites of the Earth Stargate systems. I think the main one's in Sarasota in Florida. That's otherwise you can find that out in Voyages books from Ashiana Dean, our website arhaisproduction.com, or various presentations on YouTube or Rumble and stuff like that. Just type in Ashiana Dean and you'll come across it. But this is how they work. So when you look at, if you imagine to bring your mind's eye above the earth and you're in a UFO, okay, and you're looking down at the earth and you can see where all the energetic grids are. Okay, so you've got your 4th dimensional, 5th dimensional, interdimensional vision unlocked, and you can see where the earth's energy points are, like its chakra points, acupuncture points, and you'll notice then when you see from a bird's eye view the geometries of how certain buildings are laid out and why certain buildings are where they are, it's all positioned perfectly in order to channel particular types of energy that those geometries represent, the shape of those buildings, over Stargate locations and ley lines, okay, that otherwise connect to these Stargates. And there's natural Stargates and there's artificial Stargates. Okay, so you can imagine it's like a whole spaghetti junction of all these different energies that some are Metatronic, some are Christic, that these entities are constantly trying to battle in order to gain control of the grids. It's a dominion quest. Okay, it's like capture the flag, but capture the stargates. And whoever controls the most amount of stargates and energy portal systems of how energy flows in and out of systems is going to be in control, in charge. And that's all part of the Templar, the Knights Templar, because these govern the template pillars, and that's what the root word of Templar originates from, is template pillars, which is stargates, okay, which controls the flow of energy and consciousness in and out of densities and across other realms within the same dimensions. There are 8 radial symmetries in the regular octagon. Such a geometric structure is also the design of the Tai Chi 8 diagrams. Recall the picture of the CERN promotional video. When the experiment of the Large Hadron Collider collision failed, the high-speed particle collision opened up the gap between space and time. A singularity, a beam of rays shot out from the center of the Tai Chi diagram, accompanied by a huge explosion. The powerful space-time field of the black hole was opened. There is no doubt that this pattern is the Tai Chi diagram, and the Tai Chi diagram is a closed system with entropy. CERN not only applied the Tai Chi diagram, I think that's meant to mean Tai Chi maybe, I'm not too sure, diagram in the promotional, it's probably Tai Chi in the promotional video, but also adopted the octagonal design of the Bagua diagram in a large number inside the LHC. And you see this, the Asian race, the Eastern philosophies are fully embedded in the Anunnaki, Draco, reverse Metatronic, death science, mathematics and philosophies and ideologies, because they venerate war. It's like the art of war, the philosophy of war and warring. The only idea and concept of war comes from the ability of being finite, okay, because these individuals, they are finite because they live in black hole systems, which is cut away from the eternal life forces of source when you're living otherwise in harmony with how these systems are intended to exist, with the natural flows of the mathematics that work in the physics in these systems. Okay, so they have to create ideologies of warring in order to go and take over living systems, to steal and snatch and pillage, okay, energy. And that's why war is sprung from demons. It's sprung from martial arts, the Mars. Okay, that goes back to Mars. Mars, they blew Mars up. That's why, it's nuked, apparently, if you listen to Super Soldier Guys with James Rink. That was a beautiful, abundant planet, similar to Earth, with, very rich, with lots of forests and greenery, and seas and life. But, that was blown up. And that, as a result of that, spiritually, is imbuing that kind of martial force of Mars, which is basically, again, it resulted as a result of these guys trying to come in and claim whole systems. And the reason why Earth is so important, because it is Stargate 3, so it's a very hot point in our harmonic universe density 1, because it's the only point where we can actually travel up into the next density. So it's the vertical Stargate system in order to get up and out of this density into the next, which is why it's like a hotbed strategically within this template pillar system of our holographic time matrix, okay, where there's 4 harmonic universes stacked one on top of the other. And the 5th harmonic universe is basically where the primal light and sound fields exist. So the whole idea of martial arts, warring, and venerating war and these arts stems from the philosophies and mindsets of fallen angelic intruder race entities. Okay, and that's why you see in the octagon, you got the 666 monster symbol in there. I mean, I used to venerate the stuff. I used to love cage fighting. I used to even love, I was born into, I know I've spent probably many lifetimes studying this, because we had to fight back, of course, as beings and humans in this time matrix. We've only ever known war for these entities that are going on. We had to learn to defend ourselves, of course, but there comes a time when you come back into this knowledge and you realize the most powerful way of defending yourself is, yes, possessing the knowledge of it, but separating yourself and putting your trust and faith in your own ability through your connection to your divine sources of your higher self and God to protect you and the angels. Because we don't battle, we battle against, the spirits of darkness, not against the flesh. And that's what they otherwise want to venerate, is the spilling of blood through the martial arts and the, UFCs which is why they have it all with the octagon, so it traps the energy, and that feeds with the 666 energy back into their black hole matrix and these entities that they feed off of. Okay, and the battlefields be no different. So it's all orchestrated, this whole planet and all these philosophies that are embedded in martial arts is all orchestrated to help perpetuate the frequency of warring and violence and blood spill in order to feed loose to these entities. Okay, which is why I've completely detached myself from studying martial arts, doing boxing. I exercise, but that's it. I don't give any conscious energy, because once you know this stuff, there's no going back. You can't then venerate this shit. If the Tai Chi symbol, the yin yang, because it's literally represents life without God. It's an entropic system that's trapped in duality, and this victimizer game, right? That these fallen entities love. And the I Ching, just to give an example of the 64 I Ching nearing completion, it says it in their philosophy, which is the highest point you can reach, right, within their religion, is nearing completion is the last hexagram of the I Ching. It suggests that the ever-spinning wheel of life never reaches a final conclusion, because their mentality is ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So they're cut off from source. It is dog eat dog. They exist in fear, and it's all scarcity, because in order for them to perpetuate their existence, they must rob, steal, pillage, kill, and violate other living life forms, which is what gave birth to martial arts and the need to war and develop weapons in order to go up against these guys. And obviously, on the same, the Christics, we did develop our own versions, right, to defend ourselves, but the ultimate defense is through energies. And especially if you think about the higher densities, they're not dealing with some of the 3D based technologies down here. They've got super powerful energetic weapons that we can only ever dream of, that could just pulverize you within an instant. And I've had battles in the astrals with weapons that can fire through walls in order to get to grey entities I was doing battle with, the Zeta, and there's some tech that you just blow your mind, and it's all linked up to your consciousness. And yeah, the shit down here is very debased. It's very satanic. And that's why they love. That's why they've created the earth 3 times as dense as it should be down here in harmonic 1, in order to perpetuate that perfect kind of ingredients, I guess, for the blood spilling and the veneration of violence, right? And the kind of blood sports. Obviously, it's improved. A lot of that used to go on out in the open back in the day prior to Jesus incarnating on this planet. But thank God sent Jesus to come down here, because ever since then, it's driven them underground, and it's really changed the scene. Like I said, Jesus Christ is on the brink of coming back a second time. I believe he's already here, but there's going to be, he's going to return. And these guys obviously doing the blood spilling ritual sacrifices daily, but it's all underground and all hidden behind the Freemasonic secret society temples and lodges, etc. But it's just interesting nonetheless that the whole idea of war comes from scarcity, because they're fighting over finite resources, because they're living in a system that is finite, that is cut away from source. And if they don't keep feeding it like a black hole, any parasite, then it would end up dying, and it'll get returned to source as space dust. Everything exists inside source, but they'll just become undifferentiated parts of units of consciousness that will then be used to remake the structure of the hologram for other conscious living entities to come in and experience and live through. Okay, so it's basically just having no memory of you ever existing, which isn't a really nice thing to think about for these entities. But hey, they've chosen their path and they've got to deal with it, which is why there's always this victimizer drama, because they like blaming everyone else and say it's not their fault. They're not willing to take responsibility. It's always someone outside of themselves. There's no accountability whatsoever, and they've gone so far gone down the path that is, for some of them, obviously there's no way back. And quite a few races, they have taken on the reverse Metatronic base 8 spin rates, which means that there is no way back. Even if they wanted to bioregenerate, it's kind of like that is the ultimate initiation for them to become part of the anti-God, the anti-Christ agenda. It's very real. And there's many entities that have done this. And it's the main ones are like the Fatali, Anunnaki, the Draco, and the Shanta El Borgia Budhara spider demon entities, which is supposedly the ones that have taken over Ashiana Dean at this time. Don't quote me on that. I'm not going to judge. But yeah, they're pretty, and that's why obviously the arachnid. You've got the octopus entities as well. They're very powerful. I've encountered a few of them. They're not to be messed with, but they all share something in common, which is the base 8, reverse 8. 8 times 8 is 64. I Ching, mathematical, Metatronic, checkerboard matrix, AI, finite life, death science, technology, mathematics. So just pay attention. Now you know, not to, pay tribute to these kind of philosophies and energies and symbols. The LHC's largest general purpose. Just think, Jesus, right? If he came down here, he wasn't a mixed martial artist. Jesus knew the science of running your pillars and energies, okay, and how much power that has in you becoming like a magician, a white magician. These guys, when you're going up against these guys, you're dealing with high-powered energy weapons in your consciousness. That is in sound tones and vibrations, and your own innate energy fields. Okay, and that's where the true weapons of the Christ, of the Jedi, lie in the Force, right? Whereas you can see, Star Wars is a good representation of that, the dark side and the light side, right? The Jedi and the Sith. It's just basically the sun and Saturn, Jesus and Satan. Okay, but you got to think, you got to pick your side. You can't be double-minded during these times. Is what I mean, because there is a split happening up in the Christic worlds. There's going to be no mixed martial arts centers because there's going to be no need for war. There's going to be no need to defend yourself. You're going to be directing your attention towards creating out of love and experiencing out of love. There's going to be absolutely no need to defend yourself, But for those who love that, cool. There's arenas for you where you can go and fight each other and battle with each other and venerate this stuff, but it's going to be in a finite living system because that's where those philosophies have sprung, because that's the only place it can. From being to exist in scarcity, in fear, completely insecure, because they're cut away from source. They're scared shitless every day. That's why I can call their bluff. The amount of I've been attacked so much to the point that I know I've died multiple times. I come back in my body. The divine is here, and because I know this stuff, I actually feel very sorry for them. And the path that they're on is a very sad path. It's annihilation, self-annihilation, self-destruction. But for those individuals who they don't get it, because like I said, they're running so much reversals, and they haven't got enough of that DNA strand activated of the Christ. The Christ means the heart space of understanding what it means to be an eternal, loving, sentient being in creation. Not warring, but hey, there's always a place for those individuals who want to express war and violence and combat and try and be a hero, right? And play those archetypes. But good luck to you. That's all I can say. So the LHC's largest general purpose particle detector, Atlas, is shown with 8 ring magnets under construction. The picture was taken in November 2005 from the technician standing in the picture. You can know the size of the equipment. The ultraloop instrument Atlas, a toroidal LHC apparatus, is one of the 7 experimental detectors equipped with the Large Hadron Collider. The experiment was purpose-built to observe high-energy mass particle phenomena that were previously unobservable with lower energy particle accelerators. This is a unique challenge for LHC, requiring a toroidal instrument much larger and more complex than any detectors built before. Taken in November 2006, the ring magnet system on the outer cylinder layer under construction, 8 stainless steel vacuum vessels tightly encase the superconducting cores carrying the current, and the exterior of the vessels is painted with an orange stripe pattern. This magnet system is consolidated and supported by a series of regular octagonal inner metal frames and outer metal frames. After the detector was built in an octagonal design, the experimental demonstration was fed back on the computer software. CERN has spent huge financial resources and gathered the world's top scientific researchers. It took more than 70 years since the last century to carefully lay out a black technology game. The Octagon Group in Davos can be described as strategizing and step-by-step all aspects. The author roughly summarizes it as follows. You've got the base layout, torus tunnels, facilities, construction, regular octagonal geometry. The name and logo of the organization is 666. The statue of Shiva dancing the dance of destruction. You've got the black hole ray in the center of the promotional film. Okay, the Tai Chi diagram, and then the historical background of the base site selection, and the experimental name Alice and Atlas. Now this gets into a really important synchronicity. So the New Testament revelation 9/11, They had a king who ruled over the bottomless pit. His name was Abaddon in Hebrew, but in Greek his name was Apollyon, meaning destroyer. The key to the bottomless pit was given to him. He opened the bottomless pit. Okay, the book of Revelation is considered apocalyptic literature, full of symbolic and prophetic events about the future destruction of the world. Okay, the New Testament Revelation mentions Abaddon, Hebrew, and Apollyon, Greek, making bold spiritual and political statements, named to the destroyer Apollyon, and came out of the abyss with an army of locusts. His Greek name is reminiscent of Apollo, a sun god worshipped by the Romans. The worship of Apollo used the symbol of locust in Revelation 9 mentioned. It's actually saying that the Roman Empire was ruled by the power of hell because the emperors Caligula, Nero, and Domitian considered themselves Apollo incarnations. So, the opening of the bottomless pit. Can you see the connection here, guys? CERN, where this author's taken us. 9/11, if you look at the breakdown 9/11 in Roman numerals, it's hiding the hexagon. We know that was all rich lies in 9/11, September 2001. I was actually off school with a freak accident 3 days before, which meant that I was off school to witness that live. And I know that was I think there's a lot of beings actually who witnessed this thing live. It was a mass ritual and, statement of intent, I think, by the negative alien agenda to basically defect against the agreements that were made, the Syrian Pleiadian agreements, I believe, under Ashiana's dispensations, and the war against the Guardians and God. Okay, so there was like, this is it, we're coming together, we're joining forces. All the evil factions of the fallen angelics are joining forces in order to try and take the Earth over and the whole template Stargate system. And you can see where that's all stemming from again, which is the hexagram, Satan, Luciferian forces, all right? So it's all there right in front of us. And I've had, in 9/11/2022, I actually had a weird experience, which I'll share, when I went to Denver. And that whole experience was just strange, very, very strange. But I remember before going to bed one night, there was a light device opposite in the courtyard, because, like I said, these demons are here. Luciferian forces are here everywhere. And they gang stalk me. They probably stalk a lot of you guys as well. And they use technology. Like I said, a lot of occasions, it's all technology, psychotronics, energy weapons, etc. Okay, and before going to bed one night, I saw this device on this windowsill of a apartment opposite us in the courtyard, and it was lined up perfectly to where my room was. It was like a controlled laser beam of white light. As you go past it, it was kind of faded out, but you can see that was concentrated. And I draw a line, it was like right in my bedroom. I went to bed that night thinking, okay, well, I've got to be careful. So I wasn't picking up anything at that light, but I knew it was like an alien kind of device. And anyway, that night I experienced a Rapture Timeline event where my whole template was being split into a million pieces, and so was the Earth, because we're intricately linked to the Earth, the way our chakras are based, with chakra 13 right at the core of the Earth. Okay, and that's the reason why we're here. We are the pillars helping to anchor energy into the Earth. So whatever we come in, we kind of embody and feel the Earth as our mother. Like what the pain that people who are truly connected to their spiritual self can feel the Earth, and the kind of pain that she's going through with what these guys are doing. With you've got to think some of these sites, like the Nibirian Dyadic crystal grids, the Atlantean Pinon network systems, and all these energetic kind of implants they put in here are kind of like sticking needles into your head in like electric nodes, and then running electricity and giving you like electric shock treatment. So you can imagine you as a body, that happening to you, that Earth is feeling that too. Okay, and when there's a lot of tremors and earthquakes and so-called natural disasters, it's just as a result of these fallen angelics fucking around with their technologies and wormhole technologies in order to try and run certain energies through the grids, which pop up at certain locations, which then obviously have a consequence as a result of earthquakes and weather patterns, etc., etc. Okay, but I had this experience was crazy. It's right on 9/11. It was a full moon as well in 2022, September 11th, 2022. It was nuts. So there's obviously some ritualization going on around there, and you can see here breaking it down when it translates into the Roman numerals, where all that leads to. So you've got Apollo Panobius, Lord of Locusts, Apollo with locusts in hand. This metal restored Greek bronze statue A Roman marble imitation is believed to have been sculpted by Phidias and is now in the Museum of Kassel, Hessen, Germany. Okay, CERN is located where the ancient temple of Apollo was located. Revelation 9:11, and they had a king over them, which is again is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue has his name Apollyon. Okay, it's basically the god of the black hole, which is in the center of our Milky Way galaxy. Okay. So CERN is otherwise the so-called gate to that place. Backgrounds in Revelation 9:11. Immediately after the fifth angel blows his trumpet, a star falls from heaven to the earth. The star opened a bottomless pit and unleashed a troop of demonic soldiers, like a plague of locusts, like horses preparing for war. Already by this time, hail and fire mingled with blood were cast upon the ground. A third of the land was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. Next, something like a great mountain burning was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea became blood, and a third of its creatures died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. This is the beginning of the end, when Satan and his demonic powers will be unleashed. He will be allowed to take away those who reject Christ as king, as he cleanses the entire earth to make way for a new heaven and new earth. Okay? Christ, like I said, Christ is the way. Christ represents the law of one, the Christic eternal life mathematics. Jesus embodies that which is pure, true, and the knowledge of sin, which is rejecting evil. It's the opposite of Satan. Satan exists on destruction, lies, sex magic, inversion, perversion, and everything that goes against God. Okay. Seeing this makes people shudder and think back to the end of the CERN promotional video. A black hole is open and people fall into the bottomless pit. This is describing the arrival of Apollyon, Abaddon, the destroyer, the satanic demon angel in charge of the bottomless pit. Some people think that Apollyon is also another name for Satan, who is in charge of all fallen angels, and he is given the key to the abyss of death and the bottomless pit of destruction. Combined with the historical background, the site selection of the Large Hadron Collider is very elegant. The base will be built on the site of the ancient Temple of Apollo, on the border between Switzerland and France. On the energy grid level, Stargate 11 is located in Montségur, France, which is the key centre of connection to the inner Echo universe. Once the black hole is open, it will inevitably affect Stargate 12, cutting off the link between our Echo universe and the internal Echo, and the Earth is facing the edge of the cliff, falling into the black hole. Okay, but you got guys who are on the Ascension timeline. You're going to be protected. It's fine because we're getting hosted out. But like I said, I think there's going to be a timeline where that'll be experienced. And I experienced it. And it was horrible. It was horrible. And I went through it for about probably 20 seconds before I got woken up, put back in my body, and about 5 hours of time went missing. I went back in time, so I thought it was like around the time that I should be waking up. I was kind of back only half an hour after I went back to sleep, and I felt like 5 hours of time went missing. So the divine and the guardians and the angels are working very busy to protect those who are meant to be on that kind of, divine timeline, as it were. Okay, but that's the battle we're in. You're talking of, when I say we're not battling against the flesh, we're battling against the princes and principalities and powers of the forces of darkness. That's exactly what's going on. Okay, it's interdimensional, metaphysical, timeline manipulation, things that are just beyond our comprehension. Okay, which is why you're going to put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ and the guardians and the good angelic beings and God. Okay, to keep you on the path. Okay, so as bad as this is, I mean, like I said, hopefully, fingers crossed, this has been averted. But just look at the world around you and where things are heading. Like, hell is being raised on earth very quickly, and the main portal for that is CERN. Okay, and this is anyway, it's quite self-explanatory. Just a reminder, I did another presentation on my YouTube channel, going through the so-called corona periods, right, the Great Sun in Heaven, starting on September 23rd, 2017, okay, marking the start of the 7 years of Great Tribulation, and just look what's happened since then. And there's otherwise a good other person, a pastor, he breaks down some good allegories, right, of Love Ministries, I think. of, I'll put a link down in the description, but I'll try and find it for you guys, of the timeline of what to expect that's coming up if this script is fulfilled. And obviously this was all written, a lot of it was written by the fallen angelics, but there's a certain element of truth in there with what is possibly going to happen, okay? Just given the nature of the physics and the gameplay of this interdimensional chess that's going on between the light and darkness at this time. So just have a look at, so here we go. So this guy, Greatest Love Ministries, all right, breaks down again this timeline and came to the same conclusion as me and what Naughty Beaver did with deciphering the allegory in scripture with Revelation 12 was a perfect alignment at that time, with the moon at her feet, the woman representing Virgo, Jupiter in her womb, which was actually regressing for 9 months prior to that, mimicking gestation. Okay, retrograding rather is the term. And then the sun, woman code with the sun, and then the crown of 12 stars on her head, while the Venus, Mars, Mercury, along with the 9 stars of Leo, represented the 12 stars which form the crown. Okay, so it's pretty self-explanatory that demarked the start of the book of Revelation. Okay, like I said, Revelation 9:11 and everything else that's going on, this is what could happen, guys. And so this individual right here, pay attention and go and support his channel and listen to what he's going to say with the rise of the Antichrist, possibly Barack Obama, okay, and the timeline of events of what's going on. The scriptures tell us we're on the end times. Okay, we haven't got long left, guys. This is recorded in June 2023, and the next few years is going to be the fulfillment of scripture of the book of Revelation. How that's going to look, I've got no idea. Hopefully, like I said, because there is a war at the moment with these timelines, and hopefully I pray every day that I'm on the best and highest and most graceful, smoothest and softest ascension timeline. Okay, and it all ties in with the 1,000 years of peace mentioned in the Bible, the crystal river, fail-safe host of the bridge zone, and it's all going to help for those who are on the path. Will be guided. Granted, there might be some turbulence, okay, but you're going to put your faith and trust in God to guide you, and no matter what, keep the Satanists out of your temple. Okay, the temple, the house of God, the hammer that was built, the house that was built without hammer and nail, is your body. This is your body. It's so divine. Yes, it is running some reversals, but it's still divine. This is what they want to fully take over and come after and attack. Okay, so no matter what, they chuck you away, and no matter what outpitches on the earth with wars and violence and scarcity and economic crises, just, you know, the opening of portals, just stay positive. You will be guided, you'll be protected. Put your faith and trust in Jesus. I think by now, with what's going on, God's people are marked. Okay, they will be protected. Like, I know for myself for a fact that's a fact, but it still doesn't, you know, make me immune to attacks and suffering. I have suffered a lot. It's been very painful, but I know for a fact what I witnessed firsthand, that the divine is here, is living through a lot of us, you know, the agents of God at least, as is Satan and the antichristic forces. Okay, so it's all bottlenecking. It's how things are going to pan out, who knows? But like I said at the beginning of this video, a prepared fortune favours a prepared mind. You know nothing until you know, you don't know, what's the saying? You don't know evil, you know nothing until you know evil. Okay, I forgot what that saying is. I need to read it up. It's annoying me. This is a long video. Till you know evil, you know nothing. There you go. So till you know evil, you know nothing. Okay, so that's so important to remind ourselves of that. But just, yeah, it's a pretty crazy concept. But hopefully it's all been diverted. And I think it has been. Because ultimately what they wanted to do from Ashiana Dean's dispensations, the Garden materials, is open up a black hole between the moon and the earth, which will then pull the moon and the earth together, crash. Then that force of energy that would happen from that collision would tear it open big enough to then pull all of the 4 harmonic universes, okay, in and under and into their black hole system to feed off of, which is quite a lot of quanta, okay, which will give them quite a lot quite a few more billion years of existence. Okay, and that means that you'll fall in there and you'll come out the other side and things will be rearranged, but be rearranged in a really twisted, distorted manner, and it won't be pleasant. Trust me, it'll be very demonic. It'll be completely negative. Yeah, like you can imagine how hell is depicted. So any idiot and atheist who think hell doesn't exist, it fucking does. It really does. And it's just scientifically it can be explained as a black hole subtime inverted time reality system of entropy, where all these demons reside, basically the black hole pit. And remember 1,260 days from the great sun in heaven, Satan is said to return in the scripture. And I remember around that time, around March in 2021, I actually encountered Satan twice in those consecutive full moons. The second time he shapeshifted into a great red dragon. And it's funny, a few months before me having this encounter with him in the astrals, and he looks exactly like they depict him in Hollywood in this advert, which was done by, I think it was created by Ryan Reynolds, in terms of matchmaking Satan with 2020. It'd be a perfect match, obviously, with what they wanted to bring on Earth, this agenda, the Dark Lord. Is that I had dreams before of visiting St. George's Church, and it was all this memorials of like slaying the dragon, and it's like statues, and go inside there's a painting. It was quite interesting. Recently there was a St. George Church in Italy, and they took off one of these old paintings, and behind it was an old painting of a knight killing a dragon, and that was what was going on. I didn't have memory of killing him, but I was battling him, but we were planning on bringing him down. And apparently that happens for a few seers with some guests on Super Soldier Talk from James Rink. Like 6 months later, I remember hearing them tuning in. I was like, oh, wow, I think I was probably involved in that. It's just pretty crazy. But whether it's kind of like a symbolic representation of an ascension path that people are on, like some kind of computer game, it seems to be the case, because it's kind of depicted in John Bunyan's Pilgrims Progress book and short movie, which is a really good representation of kind of like the path of the Christian, which when I watched it, I couldn't believe it. I kind of cried, because I kind of went through everything that this person had gone through. There is the Pilgrim's Progress. This is otherwise taken off the book of John Bunyan, and he encounters Satan and all these shape-shifting entities that shapeshifts into a dragon, does battle with him before he reaches the so-called Silver City, right? And Jesus is there to help him along his way, as well as many other guardians and guides, right? And just, it's a beautiful, beautiful movie to remind us of staying on the path and what is there to take us off the path, of the straight and narrow path, right? The many temptations of these devils. And that's what they do. So, Sergio Bertolucci, director of scientific computing at CERN, said things could come out of this door, or we could send things through it. Francisco Calogero, a nuclear physicist at the University of Rome, published an article titled "Could a Laboratory Experiment Destroy the Earth?" The 1995 Nobel Peace Prize co-winner professionally deciphering the possibilities. The paper sparked a wave of discussion and concern. When you hear the words of physicists, read the records of Revelation in the New Testament, see the above symbols and pictures, and think back to CERN's dance drama promotional video, how do you feel? Anyway, I kept explaining, oh my God, although it's unnecessary for CERN officials to try their best to appease such concerns, scientists know very well that particle experiments have safety and unknown risks. During high-energy particle collisions, extreme energies emerge which may create miniature black holes, causing unpredictable problems and consequences. If a black hole is really produced, the worst consequence is that the entire Earth will be swallowed by the black hole. Hawking once said before his death that CERN's particle collision experiment will open the door to the region. Okay, that's what we talked about. That's what they want to do. On August 22nd, 2022, Elon Musk tweeted that the experiment's particle accelerator was diabolical technology. The devil number 666 needs no explanation. It represents 666 seals of energy grid and 666 beast machines. When I first saw the CERN logo, I had a gut feeling the Large Hadron Collider is the beast machine 666 in 3D reality. Re-examine the CERN logo, two large rings, each with a small tail, like two spiral vortices, but actually represent black holes. Since there are two black holes in the sign, it means that the two black holes will be opened or connected. These two black holes are the alpha and omega black holes, which is the hidden meaning and true purpose of CERN. When I glimpsed Musk's illustration, looking at those two eyes, looked like two black holes. And that's his tweet back in literally bang on August 22nd, 2022. And this is a month later, 9/11, not long after I actually experienced this timeline event. So maybe it has been deterred. The only thing I'm worried is because they're firing this thing up again this year, and they start on the 22nd of April and they go until October 30th. But I don't know, anything can happen, man. That's why we've got to be so careful. We've just got to pray and just hope, repent, get away from all these signs and symbols and try and purify and just focus your mind on the eternal life, Christic, organic mathematics of heaven, and all that is good and pure. Okay, so New Testament Revelation 9:11, just to remind you guys, they had a king who ruled over the bottomless pit. His name was Abaddon in Hebrew, but in Greek his name was Apollon, which means destroyer. Give him the keys to the bottomless pit, and he opened the bottomless pit. What if the key is actually used to unlock technology that opens us to another parallel dimension or a space-time wormhole? Then this key is the technical key to the bottomless pit. Okay, CERN prominently highlights the collision between science and technology and religious theology in the promotional video. They use particle collision experiments to open a space-time black hole. In fact, they have hidden the real purpose of the particle collision experiment in the name of the experiment. That is, the last point just summarized. The experiment is named Alice and Atlas. Okay, when the high energy particle beam accelerates and collides inside the collider, the annular tunnel using superconducting magnets forms a strong tube torus magnetic field, just like a donut. The Guardian calls this shape of the magnetic field for poison apple. Okay, and you can see here the Earth's poison apple field. This is what they've done in order to manipulate the fields, and the alignment of the Earth, the vertical axis, actually lines up with their black hole systems and phantom matrix. Okay, today, again as well, you can see the pentagram with Venus, which is why Venus is another one. They say men are from Mars, women are from Venus, which is why I believe there's a lot of shape-shifting reptilian women here on this planet at this time who harvest and use guys as handlers, as these succubus entities that they are. And if you look at the Goetia, the Black Magic book, in the hierarchy of demons, Satan is said to be able to control every single woman he so desires. And I've certainly had this experience with myself, with exes, where I've actually had the spirit of demon, like Lucifer, Satan himself, come through and work through them to get to me. So yeah, it just proves in the pudding. So today, many know it has the pentagram or petals of Venus. The word pentagram or five-sided figure is used because over the 8 years, each phenomenon, each relative position of Earth, Venus and the Sun occurs 5 times. Then over the next 8 years, they repeat 5 times almost identically, and that's all tying back into the fib of Nochi sequence of the mathematics again. And then the apple, if you cut an apple in half, you can see the pentagram hidden in the apple. Then you go back to the apple in the Garden of Eden and what that represented, and the allegory behind that, which is Lucifer, Satan, basically taking over the codes and manipulating women and controlling the coding, which then helps control the matrix, because the mother is the ma'atrix, the ma'at, okay, of this time system, where every living being that comes in is coded through what the mother is running in her templates. And that's the whole point of the apple being given to Eve in the Garden of Eden, I believe, is what is being decoded there, and that's what they're telling us. Now, unfortunately, women who have not done the work, they can be tapped into completely down here through black magic and this whole pentagonal, anti-Christic, satanic, ritualized mathematics of manipulation of energy and elementals through the female womb and bodily structure, which is why these fallen gods love sex. They're like all horny gods. That's why I say they're horned. When you're horny, you feel over-sexualized, because they are manipulating the bottom 2 chakras, and this is where they're harnessing a lot of the power and keeping the consciousness trapped from ever reaching the higher heavens, which is heaved up into the head, into the higher chakras, even though Saturn sits there at the crown, because that's all part of distorting the 7 dimensional energy flows that are capped off at dimension 8, okay, which is otherwise running the reverse ultraviolet program as well, which is why there's always these 7s. The venerations are 7 days of the week, etc., etc. Saturn's the 7th planet from the sun, okay, and so if you include the Earth and the Moon, I believe that is. You've got Mercury, Venus, Earth, Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Okay, the 7 visible planets with the naked eye. It all ties in. It all ties in. It's all evidence of this kind of semi-fallen hell matrix that we're all in, and unfortunately, the manipulation of Venus. Okay, which is women. Just to prove that to you, I've got a brilliant post kind of dissecting that with the orbit of Venus. You can see here it's actually been completely inverted, which is the inverted pentagram. Okay, and I'll always break that down. This is how a Christic universal system should look like. All the polar axes of the sun and the planets should be aligned so their rods, which are the horizontal energy fields, touch and interact and feed each other energy. As the sun represents, it would otherwise be anchored to the higher densities and dimensional channels and portals that pour into the sun, that then can transmute the eternal life energies to perpetuate eternal life into these planetary systems. But that's what they've done. They've completely fucked around with these planets like bulliard balls on a pool table. And there we go, Satanaki, Commander-in-Chief, can make women do his will. And this is the reason why. And this makes sense. This is why the lust of the flesh is evil. Even the woman's productive. And I'm no offense to, you know, the Christic, the true divine Christic women out there, but a lot of women in this New Age movement have adopted this real arrogant, narcissistic, goddess type energy of thinking they know everything, and they're completely controlled and taken on the aspects of their spiritual father, which is Lucifer and Satan himself. And so, like I said, the true redemption is in the spirit and through Jesus Christ. And this is the poison apple as depicted. So yeah, it's probably another subject in and of itself. There's a lot of tangents and, you know, subtopics off the back of this, which is why I kind of refer you guys, because I can, yeah, there's probably like a 24-hour presentation, probably more than that, to be honest, a lifetime of study, going through all this stuff. But I love it. Okay, but at least it's, you know, covering what needs to be covered during this time and inviting people to really think and do more research. So it continues. However, some believe that Alice may also represent Lilith, a goddess in Mesopotamian Jewish mythology. In ancient Sumerian, Assyrian and Babylonian cuneiform writing, Lilith signified a dangerous female demon. In the Hebrew text, Lilith is translated as night monster, night witch, or screeching owl. I think the coincidence of Alice's renaming is not simple. The acronym CERN stands for European Nuclear Research Council, Council Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire in French, and was established in November 1952. After the interim council was disbanded, the new laboratory officially changed its name to CERN, Organised European pour la Recherche Nucléaire, in September 1954. But the board thought the acronym OERN was a bit awkward, so it decided to still use CERN. There must be a reason for such deliberate behaviour, right? And just going back to this kind of succubus and feeding of the energy, that's what black holes do, right? It just sucks everything in the centre of the Milky Way galaxy, it just sucks everything in. The same thing is happening on this planet with our life force being sucked, which is why they, you know, sex sells, and that's why I think a lot of women are used, like the MK Ultra sex kittens, and, you know, just brainwashing the women and the masses. And this is the whole satanic anti-Christic concept of, you know, making perversion normality, transgenderism, blending the boundaries of good and evil, what is meant to be a kind of divine harmonious union, hierogamos union with one another, true connection, rather than just licentiously going and sleeping around lustfully and spinning, especially for men, spinning their seed, because, you know, the seed is the life essence and it's so bloody powerful. It requires so many more minerals per drop, or, you know, per count as compared to blood. The semen does, and that's where a lot of the life force is being harvested, you know, through the releasing and shedding of our energy, which is why it's so important to protect our energy, to cultivate that spiritual energy, return a tenth to the Lord. That's what it says, and even for women as well, because, you know, when we go and sleep around and do all these things, even if it's you're whoring yourself out, even energetically speaking, if you're venerating and listening to like debased rap music, anything, you know, your diet, whatever comes into your vessel through your five senses, and whatever is, you know, leaking out of your vessel, you're going to be conscious of in order to preserve. So whatever's coming in, you're going to make sure it's of the utmost highest, purest form possible, like organic foods, you know, clean waters. Bless it as well. Be conscious with it, you know, because our thoughts are things and they do program matter, okay, and it will affect our material existence and our ability to manifest, all right, as well as the people we allow into our life. What kind of energies and entities are they bringing in? People we sleep with as well. You know, spiritual transmitted infections, it's very real. I've encountered this a few times with individuals, and a lot of women aren't even aware. I mean, some of them are, and trust me, you know the difference when you're a spiritually attuned male, when you do interact with someone, especially a female, who is only out to live off your seed, okay, and that can come in all forms, and that's a succubus entity. It can be sexually, draining your life force energy, spiritually, and also financially, okay. So you're going to be so very careful during these times, especially for men. Just talking from experience, especially for any awakening indigos and men. All right, so there's going to be many traps out there. Booby traps, as they call them. There's a reason why they call them booby traps, because they used to use women to lure men into, you know, the trap. There you go. Don't let those boobs deceive you, no matter how good they are. That's because, right, it continues. That's because, so read this last one. There must be a reason for such deliberate behaviour, right, of, you know, labelling it CERN rather than the new reorganised name, which should begin with an O instead of a C. That's because CERN is an acronym with the word Cernunnos. Cernunnos is the god of beasts and wilderness in Celtic mythology with the power to rule the underworld. Its name means one with long horns, and its image is a strong man with a stag's head or stag's horns, holding a ring in one hand and a snake in the other, often appearing with wild animals. His deeds are also reflected in related cultural relics found in France and other countries. Cernunnos is also worshipped with the Neo-Druids, Wicca and other religions, and he is called the Horned God. Again, horniness, sexual rituality, perversion, inversion. Wiccans believe that the Horned God, as Lord of Death, is their comforter or pacifier. Okay, after death and before reincarnation, he rules over the underworld or Summerland, where the souls of the dead wait to be reborn. The Wicca cycle of seasons is celebrated on 8 Sabbaths called annual rings. Seasonal cycles are imagined to follow the relationship between horned gods and goddesses. The horned god was born in winter, impregnated the goddess, died in autumn and winter, and was reborn by the goddess at Christmas. The same description also appears on page 221 of the electric version of the family of galactic light. So in traditional Wiccanism, the horned god is seen as a duality with two aspects, light and darkness, night and day, summer and winter. In this dualistic view, these two horns somehow symbolize his dual nature. His consort is the March goddess, and the three aspects of the goddess and the two aspects of the horned god are sometimes mapped to the 5 points of the pentagram. The horned god in Wicca combines the imagery of Cernunnos and the Greek god Pan. The image of Cernunnos is holding a ring in one hand and a snake in the other. It's all pagan worship. Coincidentally, Shiva also has the duality of creation and destruction, with a crescent moon on his head, a trident in his hand, and a cobra wrapped around his neck. In addition, he also has a more common image, Linga. Linga is the male genitalia, a symbol of regeneration. Shiva and the horned god Cernunnos have many similarities, also similar to the Baphomet as well. There is a statue of Shiva erected at the CERN base, which is actually not at all inconsistent. So Atlas, as you can see there, Atlas is the largest detector ever built for a particle collider, 46 meters long, 25 meters in diameter, and located 100 meters underground. Its construction has broken through the limits of existing technologies. It adopts a ring structure as a whole and is composed of 6 different detection subsystems, which are concentrically wrapped around the collision point to record the trajectory, momentum, and energy of the particles so that they can be detected, individually identified and measured. Beams of particles from the Large Hadron Collider collide at the center of the Atlas detectors at energies of up to 7 trillion electron volts, okay, or 99.999% the speed of light, producing colliding debris that fly out in all directions in the form of new particles. The most critical information in the naming code is ATLAS, okay, it stands for a toroidal LHC apparatus. This abbreviation is a bit interesting. According to common sense, it should be abbreviated as ATLA or ATA. In order to piece together Atlas, the S at the end is deliberately selected. Such a deliberate behavior does not need too much explanation. Mathematically, a toroid is a surface of revolution with a hole in the middle, and the axis of rotation passes through the hole so that it does not intersect the surface. For example, when a rectangle is rotated about an axis parallel to its side length, a ring of hollow rectangular sections is produced. If the figure of rotation is a circle, then the object is called a torus. Therefore, torus is a type of torus. Makes sense. In Greek mythology, Atlas is the Titan giant Thetan, who was sentenced to hold up the sky forever after the Titan War. According to Plato, the first king of Atlantis was also called Atlas, and that Atlas was the son of the Olympian god Poseidon and the mortal woman Cleito in Greek mythology. The typical symbol of Poseidon is holding a trident in his hand, while the image of Lord Shiva is also holding a trident in his hand and a cobra wrapped around his neck. Such a coincidence tells us a possibility that Poseidon may also be the god Shiva. CERN put a statue of Shiva in the middle of the base building. As it said, it was a gift from the Indian Atomic Bureau. So what Ashyan teaches, right, is all of these gods in Greek mythology that kind of are gone into Roman mythology, they all represent the same kind of planetary forces and beings that do exist, okay, in these high densities, who otherwise wanted to be labelled as these false creator gods, because again they're playing this agenda where they've defected against God and wanted to impose their will and demand worship and sacrifice, which is basically just energy to help feed their immortality. Okay, and that's all worship is giving away. Idolatry is giving away your energy, some mostly unconsciously, but consciously, or being tricked into doing that, to help perpetuate their immortality and give them more power. Okay, and there was a time where these gods would be walking the earth, okay, when the energies meant that they could. And so that's where these myths, like the Greeks, they would tell you, even though in the Western culture a lot of it is kind of seen as mythology, a lot of Greeks know that a lot of it is true. It's like very literal. You know, these gods were amongst men, you know, back in the day at some point in time. That's what Ashyan says, you know, actually did happen. I can believe it. I believe you had these beings that, you know, they're all vying for worship and energy and respect and honor and battling amongst each other and falling out with one another and trying to build their own empires. So that's basically what's going on. Since Atlas is the first king of Atlantis, the Atlas experiment with CERN is actually the name of the Atlantis experiment. You may know that the Atlantis experiment is a destructive experiment. It was the Atlantis experiment that causes the sinking of the Atlantis island. This ancient civilization has been submerged in the sea since then, and it has gradually been forgotten by mankind and become a legend. Okay, the Guardians narrate this history in the Voyager 2 book through the first speaker, Ashiana, and it states, the Atlantis Experiment 1, the Templar Anu became increasingly hostile within the territory protected by the Syrian Council, and many migrated to Atlantis, which became Templar Anu's stronghold. Templar Anu was so angry at being banned from Inner Earth and the Covenant Ark that they devised a plan to conquer the Inner Earth territory by using Atlantis' crystal generators to destroy the electromagnetic barrier protecting the Inner Earth portal. Templar Anu began their journey from the continent of Atlantis, but soon discovered that the shields of the Inner Earth portal were not easily destroyed. When they injected too much energy into one of the main generator crystals, the crystal unit exploded with more than 10 times the power of an atomic bomb. Several other smaller generators also exploded, tearing apart the continent of Atlantis, sinking most of its landmass to the ocean floor. After the Big Bang 30,000 years ago, 28,000 BC, Atlantis' landmass was reduced to 3 islands and most of the population was wiped out. Just prior to the explosion, the Syrian Council removed various groups from Atlantis, distributing them across the globe, and many were taken to Egypt for resettlement. The Egyptians were forewarned of the impending event, and most of the civilization retreated underground into the Inner Earth communities in search of shelter from the cataclysmic changes caused by the explosion. Atlantis Experiment 2 in 9558 BC, at the instigation of the Anunnaki resistance, Templar Anu devised a plan to control the teleportation station of the Great Pyramid so that the resistance could freely enter the Alcyone spiral. Their plan also included destroying the sphere of Amenti, because without the race morphogenetic field, the souls of the race would be trapped in Harmonic Universe 1 and their evolutionary imprint would be erased. The resistance wants to use humans as experimental subjects, creating a race of labourers who will be provided with Earth's resources, primarily gold and several other mineral compounds. Using the Ankh, an Ankh tool stolen from Inner Earth Anu Melchizedek, Templar Anu attempted to channel the UHF fifth dimensional energy from UNC through the giant crystal dynamo, through the energy grid of the Earth and the portal bridge of the Ark of the Covenant. They intend to send this high energetic electromagnetic pulse through the Covenant Ark and into the sphere of Amenti within the core of a planet in the Andromeda galaxy. Their miscalculations showed that if they sent a precise EMP pattern into the Covenant Ark, the sphere of Amenti could be isolated as a target for destruction, and the blue flame Tara morphogenetic field could be released and returned through the Covenant Ark, becoming an inexhaustible source of energy. Once the blue flame rod of Amenti falls under their control, the Anunnaki resistance can easily orchestrate a massive Earth takeover, but Templar Anu failed to obtain the frequency codes that the Guardians used to protect the sphere of Amenti from such attacks, and this miscalculation led to the destruction of Atlantis. 30,000 years have passed since the first Atlantis experiment, and now humanity has been quietly placed in the third Atlas experiment without us even realising it. Since its completion in 2008, the Large Hadron Collider has completed 2 successful runs, the first from 2010 to 2013, the second from 2015 to 2018, and the third from 2022 to 2025. That's what we're in at the moment. In December 2018, it was officially announced that the Large Hadron Collider would be shut down for upgrades in the next 2 years in preparation for the third run of the LHC. If you know enough about the Guardian data, you'll be very clear about the importance of these 3 time periods for the ascension of the Earth. The time of each operation of the LHC is intriguing. Okay, as you can see here, these CERN alignments where they fire them up, right, happen at certain conjunctions of our planetary alignment with our annual electric peak and annual magnetic peak, which is all coinciding with, you know, the ascension of the Earth, and the Venus pentagonal alignment as well. And that's exactly where you can see the CERN Hadron Collider was being fired up during those time periods. This is very interesting. It's a 2023 schedule. This is from their website. The first collisions in the LHC are expected around 22nd of April, heralding the start of a relatively short but intense physics run that's scheduled to end on 30th October. Okay, the first 2 runs of the LHC have made breakthrough discoveries, created scientific achievements and world records that scientists are proud of. On July 4th, 2012, CERN's Atlas and CMS experiments announced that they independently observed a new particle in the mass region of around 125 GeV through particle collisions. The Higgs boson, known as the God particle, Atlas and CMS are the 2 Large Hadron Collider experiments that participated in the discovery of the Higgs boson in July 2012. Just such a simple sentence revealed 4 important pieces of information to us. The Atlas experiment ran successfully, conducted an ultra-high energy particle collision experiment. 3, discovered the God particle, Higgs boson. And 4, the running time is before July 2012, as shown in the data given by CERN in the figure below. The running time is May 13, 2012. Candidate Higgs boson events from proton collisions observed at the Large Hadron Collider. The compact muon core experiment above shows decay to 2 photons, dashed yellow and solid green lines, and the lower experiments with the toroidal instrument show the decay into 4 muons with the red tracks. The Higgs boson is known as the God particle, named after Leon Lederman, winner of the 1988 Nobel Prize in Physics. In late 1960, Leon Lederman discovered the muon neutrino, now considered one of the smallest particles that make up matter. At the end of the 1950s, he and Wu Jianzhong proved the parity non-conservation theory of Yang Zening and Li Zhangdao. From 1978, Lederman became the 2nd director of Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory. Only by building more energetic accelerators will it be possible to capture the tiny particles that give everything its mass. The greater the energy, the greater the cost. Therefore, Leon Lederman unhappily called it a damn particle, goddamn particle. Later, he wrote a popular science book about the development of human beings exploring the physics of the universe. Originally, the title of the book was thought of and adopted this name, but the publisher felt that the name was inappropriate and changed it to God particle in order to make it more cheery. I don't know what that means anyway. As a result, the book became inexplicably popular and the concept of God particle was quickly spread. Higgs boson is a kind of elementary particle in the Standard Model. It is a kind of boson with 0 spin and positive value, immediately decays. Okay, the Higgs boson is a masked boson that accompanies the Higgs field and is the quantum excitation of the Higgs field. According to the Higgs mechanism, elementary particles acquire mass due to coupling with the Higgs field. If the Higgs boson is confirmed to exist, the Higgs field should also exist, just as the existence of the ocean can be deduced from observing the waves on the surface of the ocean. The discovery of the Higgs boson in 2012 confirmed the existence of the Higgs field. Okay, the Higgs field is often described as a cosmic syrup that exerts a subatomic drag on everything that passes through it. The Higgs field uses spontaneous symmetry breaking to endow elementary particles with mass. There's that symmetry again. What is spontaneous symmetry breaking? As shown in the picture, suppose there is a ball on the top of the Mexican hat. For the rotation around the central axis of the hat, the sphere is in a state of rotational symmetry, and the position of the sphere remains unchanged. But the sphere is also the state of the local maximum gravitational potential, which is extremely unstable. A slight disturbance can cause the sphere to roll down to any position of the bottom of the hat valley and drop to the position of the minimum gravitational potential, so that the rotational symmetry is broken. Therefore, for the rotation around the central axis of the top of the hat has rotational symmetry, but any position at the bottom of the hat does not have rotational symmetry, and symmetry will be broken. Since this is a spontaneous process, it's called spontaneous symmetry breaking. Okay, symmetry breaking can be divided into two types: spontaneous symmetry breaking and apparent symmetry breaking, which is characterized by whether the equation of motion or the ground state remains unchanged. Apparent symmetry breaking is when the Lagrangian of the system obviously violates a certain symmetry, so that the laws of physics do not have this symmetry. The parity violation of the weak interaction belongs to this category. The non-conservation of parity means that in the weak interaction, the motions of matter that are mirror images of each other are asymmetrical. Proposed by Chinese-American Li Zhangdao and Yang Zaning, Wu Jingzhang used cobalt-60 to verify. In layman's terms, if two identical particles look at each other in a mirror, their decay methods are different inside and outside the mirror. A common setting for explicit symmetry breaking is the perturbation theory in quantum mechanics. Perturbation theory refers to applying a small perturbation to a test object to cause a specific change in its state. From this change, a chemical state parameter of the test subject is determined. The theme of symmetry was cited by CERN as a dance drama film, and the related supporting documentary is Symmetry Unraveled. So their intention is to disintegrate or break up the CP symmetry of particles, resulting in obvious symmetry breaking. Remember, go back to what I mentioned before. That's the whole agenda: dividing and conquering and separating and splitting, destroying. Hawking is not talking about the Higgs boson here, but the so-called Higgs potential, which is a completely different concept, says Katie Mike, a theoretical physicist at the University of Melbourne. Okay, the Higgs field pervades the universe, and the Higgs boson is the excitation of that field. Just as electrons are the excitation of the electric field, in this analogy, the Higgs potential acts like a voltage, determining the value of the field. Once physicists started getting close to the mass of the Higgs boson, they were able to calculate the Higgs potential. This value seems to indicate that the universe exists in so-called metastable vacuum or false vacuum state, which is currently stable but could slip into a true vacuum at any moment. This is the catastrophic vacuum decay that Hawking warned about, and he wasn't the first to come up with the idea. Okay, many theoretical physicists believe that experimenting with random excitations of the Higgs boson could lead to something sci-fi, such as the formation of a black hole inside our planet. Although I don't understand Hawking's catastrophic vacuum decay, accompanied by the expansion of true vacuum bubbles at the speed of light, but looking at the structural model diagram of the Higgs field, combined with the concept of vacuum bubbles and the ball on the top of the Mexican hat, reminds me of the Stargate mechanism described by the Guardians, and its structure is very similar to the Higgs field structure model diagram. As shown in the left picture above, or on the right there, the ball in the middle of the Stargate is a scalar frequency seal. When the seal is released, the center becomes a static point like a vacuum. Okay, and this is otherwise taken from the Voyager's book that you can get your hands on, that otherwise does explain these interdimensional lock systems. Okay, stargates and portals are pairs of interconnected counter-rotating electromagnetic field spirals that naturally exist within suns and planetary bodies, and which also form at fixed points of space within 5 densities of the universe, where time cycles and time continua repeatedly pass through each other at fixed intervals. Stargates and portals exist as black and white hole pairs that are connected at the center point by a scalar frequency seal. When stargates or portals activate, the center seal releases, and the pair of counter-rotating electromagnetic spirals merge to form an interdimensional Merkaba field, which allows for passage between various space-time coordinates. Okay, so it's all science. When stargates and portals activate, the counter-rotating electromagnetic spiral pair merges to form a Merkaba vehicle. Its center becomes a form constant still point that links various space-time locations directly to each other, creating a trans-time bridge. Okay, and we all have in us Merkaba 2 that we can activate, and that's what gets activated when you do want to travel along these dimensional pathways. Think of the Rainbow Bridge, the Bifrost Bridge, right? When the time comes, if you are an adept and you've learned how to take command of your elementals and the atomic structure, you will be able to demanifest and remanifest yourself and travel up and down the whole 5-dimensional, 4-density harmonic universe time matrix. Okay, and across, so you can travel up and down as well as horizontally, okay, across the vastness of each harmonic universe, for the planets and stargates and stars that are in there. It's amazing, it's incredible. But obviously with what's going on with this whole Saturn cube system, the Metatronic AI interface wormhole network, the black hole technology, it's created a mess, and it's very tough for us to be able to do that down here based on the implants and the technologies that are being run to suppress us. But yeah, like I said, that's all coming to an end for those who are on the path. We're going to be coming back into all this knowledge and being able to come back into who we truly are and what we were created to be and have control over, which I've had this control in the astrals. It's very real, being able to levitate, being able to manifest and have almost godlike powers. It is very, very real, using your consciousness through your being, your vessel. These are really powerful once you tap into and unlock the true power that's hidden within them. But it can only be done through being responsible, basically. Right, so stargates and portals are a pair of interconnected it's basically repeating, but it's good to repeat this. Oh no, okay, yeah, so we go on that. So when the stargate and portal are activated, the counter-rotating electromagnetic, yeah, okay, so basically just read that. Negative interstellar forces are well aware of the stargate mechanism, and using this principle, they can create artificial Merkaba fields and create miniature wormholes on the time continuum, so that their fleets can travel across dimensions, such as invading the present Earth from the future time coordinates. The working principle of the Large Hadron Collider is to imitate the stargate mechanism, allowing two beams of high-energy protons to collide. Each proton has an energy of 7 TeV, which is enough to produce new particles 10 times the mass of known particles. The LHC accelerator is built with the superconducting magnets and has 2 adjacent parallel beam tubes for guiding and focusing 2 beams of high-energy particles. Each beam tube houses the propagation of a beam of particles traveling in opposite directions, counter-rotating at nearly the speed of light, before intersecting inside 4 detectors around the tube ring, which is where the particles collide. It's like having 2 cars collide head-on, with parts scattered all over the place, and detecting the parts that make up the cars. The process somewhat mimics the Big Bang, the way scientists try to find the particles that give everything its mass. The Higgs boson was independently discovered by 2 giant detectors at the Large Hadron Collider. According to the first group, the so-called Atlas detectors, the Higgs particle has a mass of 126 billion electron volts. According to the second group, that works in the CMS detectors, it has a mass of 125.3 billion electron volts. Both exceed Stephen Hawking's critical value of 100 billion electron volts, which is powerful enough to create artificial Merkaba fields and create a space-time wormhole. Hawking called this discovery of the Higgs boson a bit of a shame, and even expressed disappointment that the experiment didn't turn up more anomalies. In fact, the black hole has been opened and the abnormality has appeared, but the truth has been hidden. On December 9, 2009, the Earth was connected to the core black hole of the Milky Way, the abandoned wormhole. Okay, on May 28, 2012, the shield of the Earth split and the torment of the flower of darkness began. The plasma template began to run the Metatronic frequency of the abandoned matrix from 2009 December, enters our grid through the Norwegian wormhole. This is the Guardian message from Asciana. The Large Hadron Collider was completed in 2008. We can follow the clues based on this information and try to enter the keyword Norway 2009 wormhole on YouTube so that you can find the big melon in the video and verify the accuracy of this part of the information. So it's already happened, guys. We've got entities pouring in, right? They've opened these portals. This is why there was the shield split. The crystic shield split in the indigo shield back in 2012, and that's why, you know, we've got this dispute, this disparity, this separation. It's what they're doing. They're pulling people apart during this time. The separation of the timelines. It breaks my heart. But this is what's going on. It's got to come to an end, and it will. But you've got to save yourself. You have to look after yourself, protect your energy, put your faith in God and Jesus during this time. So it's out of our hands. Or at least, you know, what we can do is send an article to people working at CERN, tell them to shut the fucking thing down, sabotage it, get rid of it, pray, ask for God, the angels. I don't want to experience, you know, I've already experienced a minor timeline of a rapture event, and it's not pleasant. I do not want to experience that again. So this is why I put this presentation together. And if you come this far, then yeah, just pray to God to help to dismantle this beast system that they got set up. And prevention's far better than cure. Let's just prevent it. Let's put their plans to an end. You know, they put so much effort and time into probably doing all this for so many thousands, millions of years, and let's just topple it over right before they're about to hit the, you know, the main switch. So no cataclysm can happen. But like I said, those who are on the right timeline, you end up becoming like your own safe zone, which is what a lot of the indigos will be doing to help anchor into the grids, and you holographically won't come to experience like severe cataclysms of being sucked into a black hole, and will be protected. But make no mistake, like if they keep prodding and playing around with what they're doing, we're going to be in a war like we already are. It's just going to get probably even more intense before it gets even better, right? It's always darkest before the dawn. So how does the opening of the Norwegian... So there's actually a video that we can watch that shows this. So let's watch it. These openings around these specific dates. Yeah, okay, so let's watch it.
Scientists from all over the world are trying to figure out what caused a mysterious blue light to spiral in the sky over Norway on Wednesday. CBS News correspondent Sheila McVicker has the latest on the mystery. Sheila, good morning.
Good morning, Harry. Mysterious light indeed. A light appearing high in the Arctic sky, baffling those who saw it and exciting a lot of comment. Early yesterday morning, just before dawn, this appeared in the Norwegian sky.
Hva I helvete er det der?
That's Norwegian for what the heck is that? A blue light, small at first, growing into a spiral and then disappearing into what appeared to be a black hole. In the northern community of Trondelag and on a Norwegian military base, cell phones snapped, video cameras rolled, and bloggers got busy.
A spiral of light moving and then suddenly stopping.
There's still a lot of speculation to what it could be.
The Arctic sky is no stranger to atmospheric phenomena. The northern lights and the seasonal flight of Santa just two. But the explanation here apparently lies across the border with the Russian military and another failed missile launch. A respected Russian daily first reported this morning that the third stage of a sophisticated Bulava intercontinental missile failed. And space experts point to the spiraling of this missile as it failed to launch properly as an explanation for the shape seen over Norway, the halo, they say, produced by missile
People actually believe that. It's hilarious.
fuel.
McVicker live with us in London this morning. Thank you.
NASA tackles some of the greatest problems faced by mankind, but its reputation for...
So yeah, you can see, and this is more recently. So, start of this year, 2023. Oh, let's go back. You probably missed it. But it's the same spiral nature. The basic saying that this is otherwise like a representation of them messing around with opening these portals energetically with what's going on in the CERN, right? You kind of see it up here. This kind of spiral vortex. I mean, this is getting into like interdimensional physics. As you see with the stargates and this technology. Okay, so it can all be explained. There it is. It's quite beautiful. They're otherwise saying that obviously there's a lot of guardian intervention at the moment. Like I said, they've already stymied a lot of the apocalyptic timelines, and I believe we are on the best possible timeline of ascension with the Crystal River host. So there's no need to fear. However, like I said, it's always best to be prepared and have this knowledge in knowing if times do get tough and you come to experience the wacky sci-fi reality of a black hole being opened up. Look at that. It's April 15th. This was slightly before they actually started firing up. So that's quite interesting. So again, this may be indicative of the so-called divine intervention, the Guardians working in their presence here to stop all this madness from happening. Actually quite beautiful. So there you go. All very timely. So we have, how does the opening of the Norwegian wormhole on December 9, 2009 affect us? It's finally time to announce the overall layout, and we're all quietly involved in this big game without realising it. Okay, exactly 10 years after the opening of the wormhole, Wuhan announced the discovery of the new crown virus on December 8th, 2019. And we all know what followed. You know, the so-called, with the mRNA modification, nanotechnology that will connect your body to the 5G pentagram. Again, 5, maybe we went through that. 5G will receive a signal from CERN. The supercomputer running CERN is being called the Beast 666. Finally, the Beast computer is directly linked to the black hole Abaddon. Mobile phones have become a weapon. When you're addicted to playing with mobile phones, do you feel like a kind of magic attracting you? This is the magic power of black holes. Humans on Earth are subtly sending energy into the black hole, just like the final ending of CERN symmetry. Everyone is slowly falling into the abyss, the black hole, to the assimilation. As Job describes the marvellous power of God, he declares that the kingdom of the dead is naked before God. Destruction is undiscovered. That's Job 26, verse 26, chapter 6. The realm of the dead is the underworld or hell, and even this place is powerless before Almighty God. Okay, so you can't make this stuff up. Inside these vaccines are RNA modified nanotechnology that connects your body to 5G, which receives signals from CERN, and said supercomputer that powers CERN is called the Beast. CERN is located in the former temple of Apollo. So just be aware, guys. Awake, aware, and able. Since its completion in 2008, the Norwegian wormhole opened December 2009. LHC has completed 2 successful runs. The first run from 2010 to 2013. 2012. Earth Shield splitting event. The second time the running time is from 2015 to 2018. The Earth Star activation cycle ends in 2017, and the third running time is from 2022 to 2025. The 2 spiral across dual peaks in 2023. Yeah, so considering the coincidence of the time point, it can be inferred that the Higgs boson experiment on May 13, 2012 was related to the Earth Shield splitting event on May 28, 2012, and the symmetry is broken through high-speed collision of particles to create a space-time wormhole. The division of the Earth's shield is caused by the particular evil fallen race Fatali. Fatali belongs to the White Dragon, so the White Dragon should be the supporting force behind CERN. Ledemann's original term for the Higgs boson was the damn particle, and really lives up to its name. In fact, Higgs himself shuddered when he heard the term God particle. He disapproved of having the particle named after him. And these are just a few representations. This is taken out of a film called, is it the Shang-Chi, the 10 Golden Rings of the Marvel movie, and again it represents this portal being opened in inner Earth, and the demons coming through, as well as obviously Satan. You've got these octopus entities as well, and the Shantar El Budhara spider demons, which is part of this kind of AI hive mind matrix of the World Wide Web. Think of www.666. It's very spider-like. You've got a central control hub of a female Hydra type entity, which controls all the other extensions of itself as conduits of its consciousness to go off and be assimilated, so it can control everything and assimilate everything, and that's what's going on. Postscript: this article was originally not in my writing plan. When I was still writing the article on acupoints and traditional Chinese medicine, my higher self guided me to understand quantum physics and naturally paid attention to the CERN particle collision experiment, the connection between the opening of Barton's black hole and the splitting of the shielding field of the Earth in 12 years. So I finished writing this article and started to translate the above video. The time point was from 4.5 to 16 last week. On Sunday night, I had a nightmare of a poisonous spider invasion. I woke up in a cold sweat. This is what I had the most terrible nightmare. On Monday morning of the next day, I saw on the news that a blue vortex appeared in the night sky of Alaska. That was this year. At that moment, I suddenly understood the instructions of my higher self, or my seventh sense, called telepathy, to sense changes in the energy grid in advance. Okay, so we are facing the peak period of the separation of the two spiral jewels in November 2023. So as you know, I suddenly understood the instructions of my higher self. It goes on, this kind of similar induction event happened more than once. The first last year's earthquake and the last year's Turkey earthquake, I've come to realize that I'm one with everything on the earth, and that when the earth's grid is seriously attacked, my energy field feels the attack accordingly. Yeah, because we're one and the same, symbiotic. Now we are facing, but they're trying to split us. Now we're facing the peak period of the separation of the two spiral jewels in November 2023, and the LHC has undergone more than 3 years of transformation and upgrading, and is currently planning to restart its operation for the third time, like I mentioned before, which is starting from this year up to 2025. So there's going to be a lot more going on. Like I did in my other presentation, talked about the harvest of the earth, trampling the wine press. Okay, it's all linked to Saturn. Saturn's god of wrath, which is linked to the black hole pit of Abaddon. And this is what they want to do, take a sickle upon the earth, etc. This is what they're gearing everyone up. I think that's what they're gearing up for in this battle between good and evil, Saturn and the sun, force of good and darkness, Saturn and Jesus. And that, transhumanist agenda, you can see the two pathways. Okay, so we're right before the split. And the split is happening, but there come a point in time where everything's assigned, and it's kind of then it's too late to kind of go back. Your destiny's set in stone. Okay, and this like I said, the whole 8 again with the arachnid, the octagon, is represented in this. Again, another great article which is breaking down the allegory behind Stranger Things and how that's otherwise a replication of the Montauk Project, okay, which a lot of Indigos would have been, Starseeds would have been involved with, the super soldier, so-called black projects that they get up to and opening up of portals, which is represented in this upside down world, right, where the spider demon, the mind flare, is there trying to assimilate. Okay, and again they show in that TV series similar devices as the large hadron collider, and it's the spider entity. It's the reason why we have a fear of spiders and snakes. It's good reason, because they are created from demonic entities. Okay, and then you've got this character which is Vecna, right, in the TV series. Pretty surreal looking entity with the tentacles. So again, it's all like the tentacles, this parasitical wormhole like tentacle sucking energy system from spiders and octopus entities. Okay, so it's all part of the same. So what I'm saying is, I think we're getting to a point in time where we've got to jump ship. Okay, we're going to be hosted out, and it's time for us to get out of here, and this whole time matrix will be reset. All the seals and portals and gates will be closed to the black hole systems, and they're just going to drift away and live out their existence until they return to space dust, so they can't harm any other living systems. Okay, so it's kind of like a final, right, enough's enough. This is it. This is second coming, a great cosmic reset, and we're going to reset everything back to the way things should be. However, there's still going to be a timeline for quite a few billions of years of this assimilation, and they're going to try and poke into other reality systems. It just means that this time reality system is going to be reset. But I think they will be basically cut off, closed off, quarantined, and that's it. So all the beings that get sucked in, they're going to end up living this kind of cyberpunk 2077 transhumanist integration with being assimilated with technology and artificial immortality, and we'll be sold that to the likes of Elon Musk, Neuralink, and everything else, and then those on the divine eternal life Christic organic timeline of ascension will be coming to witness what you see here on the right, with tapping into our proper innate organic crystalline technologies and living in harmony with how God originally intends creation, with these magical, majestic, Christic, eternal systems and places and nature. And I can't wait. I'm definitely setting my intent on that. So yeah, just got to pray, hope, and be strong and keep a watch. All right, know the mission that we're on to anchor the energies. And like I said, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Okay, and yes, there are many entities masquerading as Jesus in the astral field. Okay, which otherwise, let's just read this real quick, but there is, you'll know Jesus when it comes to you. Okay, and this is a good little representation, right? Little breakdown, okay, let's have a look. I mean, I could go on forever, but I think we should knock this off. But eons ago, House Metatron's main mission was to help restore parts of the galaxy that had fallen apart originally from Andromeda. This is the result of the Lyra Wars, or the fall of Lyra. Lyra is the 12th Stargate directly connected to the Andromeda Galaxy. The Metatron Collective attempted to rebuild the Lyra Stargates and help repair the 8D layer of the Metagalactic core. Unfortunately, they failed. Due to the failed attempts of the Metatronic Collective, they were absorbed into the artificial intelligence system and eventually deviated into the Yahweh system, which is connected to the Black Cube Matrix. The Black Cube Matrix is connected through Saturn, and this structure is sucking life force from our cosmic time matrix and feeding it back into their black hole system, where these negative alien agenda invader sources live. Saturn is also the 7th Stargate of the solar system, so it has been transmitting the reverse violet ray plasma light, which has been the source of the distortion, creating the reverse violet light onto our planet. This is one of the extraterrestrial constructs used to drive affliction implants across the axes of the planetary body. Yahweh Matrix is connected to a black cube matrix, which is connected through Saturn and the moon. Okay, there is a black cube in the sun, the earth, and the moon, the star, and the black cube in the center of the sun is a regular dodecahedron. Here is the key point, and this implant will be discussed detailed later. So yeah, you can go and it's a really good breakdown, amazing articles by this author. Prison Planet and False Ascension. So just read through this. The Guardians revealed that alien machines and Skynet, okay, used for consciousness erasure of all Earth's inhabitants, alerting people to the false lights used in False Ascension Matrix, and the reincarnation of souls that are sent into consciousness traps that make Earth become a prison planet. Earth is going through a major spiritual crisis of global human slavery enforced by negative alien agenda controllers. During the Ascension cycle, the Crystal Planet Guardians are essentially on a rescue mission to help Earth ascend and free the souls on Earth from mind control and AI false timeline propagation. Negative archons can dress this game up a notch, dazzle us by showing us something beautiful and give us some so-called save us technology. It's very important to realise that consciousness does not require the possibility of a physical existence. Just knowing that consciousness persists after the death of a living organism will help you maintain control of your personal consciousness and help you pass through safely when leaving your body, whether in a sleep state or meditative state. Know and be aware that there are many hyperdimensional pockets, windows of deception, astral illusions, and consciousness traps that may appear to resemble or mimic portals to a higher light. Okay, there are known as false white light traps or false ascension spaces. There are also some spaces that are used as soul traps or consciousness traps, allowing the individual's consciousness to spin around like a hamster on a wheel. Now, I had an experience when I was out of body before I went out to Denver in 2022, and I saw myself on my bed, and the guide came to me and said, "We've got to get out of here," and he jumped through a portal because there was a load of Zoidcast interdimensional kind of SWAT team individuals coming in, rushing up the stairs, so I could hear them. And I tried to jump up into the portal, but I couldn't. So it might have been one of those setups where something was fabricated for me to try and go up and through there, but I couldn't for a good reason. But then, I ended up getting caught by these guys, so it was difficult to ascertain what was going on there. But when the time comes, I know something like that I'll be met with out of body, because I've been out of body many times, and it's very real. It's as real as this reality, but it's just slightly more, the physics is completely different. It's more fantasy, like Disneyland. The things are more interactive, So you can prepare yourself for that. And just like I said, if you trust in Jesus, put your attention and focus on Jesus and the guardians and the guides, build your connection with your higher self, you will be met and you'll be able to evade and just guide yourself, more than anything, into the right paths and portals in order to get to safety. So just continues, the false ascension matrix is an inorganic alien technology installed into the astral plane, which is the fourth dimension, by the negative archons and primarily controlled in the higher sound field dimensions of the 5D timeline. This is a false white light current that comes from the lower soul matrix dimensional realms, mandatory incarnation of human consciousness into Earth's lower time fields during the ascension cycle. From the Guardian's point of view, this is a soul cycle used to create worker bees who are succumbing to negative archons. A major focus of timeline restoration has been the false ascension matrices and various 5D ascension programs that have been fed into these imitation inorganic systems. Remember the 3D to 5D consciousness? There's so many people talking about that back in 2019, 2020, 2021. It was all part of this bullshit. Essentially, 5D, you're not even touching the surface where you need to go in order to get out of harm's way. When this matrix is reset, you're going to go back up to the God world, dimensions 12 and beyond, or at least be hosted out somewhere safe, adjacent and outside of this current time matrix. Inorganic systems are responsible for cycling the reincarnation program, the human soul, in the lower astral planes. These inorganic systems must be disabled and dismantled on both levels of the human 3D program and the 5D liaison program. Okay, so there you go, guys. That pretty much sums up everything. There's so much more to talk about, but I think that we'll just stick to what we just covered. Have faith and believe in Jesus. Jesus Christ is returning, and he's going to be there as a guide to help those on the path when the time comes to depart this plane. Whatever you do, don't give in. Stand true for what you believe in terms of respecting the temple, not letting these Satanists come in to desecrate your temple, to connect you to the hive mind, to drag you into a lower timeline. Don't let any other individual come into your life to try and stifle your ascension either. Come out from amongst them and be separate, okay, as it says in the Bible, and all these beautiful sayings and wisdoms that are still hidden in the Bible. Yes, it has been convoluted, don't get me wrong, but just tap into the essence of these sayings. They're speaking to your heart, speaking to you, and Jesus is always there for you. Okay, the real Jesus, the true Jesus. And like I said, whenever confronted with these entities, all you got to do is ask them for your truth. Reveal your true nature. What is your true agenda? You order them. You can control a demon by their name. You have the power and voice. The word of God lives in you. The essence of God lives in you. Okay, this is like when us coming back to realize, as Simba realized, that Mufasa lives in him. He is son of Mufasa, king. We are all sons and daughters of God, kings and queens to be, right? So it's just a matter of coming back into knowing your power, having full faith and trust, not in the world, but in the Spirit, the Holy Spirit of God, the guardians, guides, and Jesus Christ. And always pray, always be thankful and grateful. Find beauty in this world, there's plenty of it, but be aware, as a spiritual warrior, until you know evil, you know nothing. So be grateful for the lessons that you've learned in the knowledge of evil, which I'm very grateful for, because it's just incredible how complex and how evil these beings are with what they've been getting up to. But know that there's going to be a time very, very soon where the split's going to happen and we are going to ascend into safety, and we've got so much to look forward to. Okay, so I think what you can do going forward is send emails to people at CERN, send them a copy of a translated version of the article, or send them this video even, and pray that God touches the hearts and minds of those individuals in control and in these power structures, which I know he already has, or it already has, in order to make those decisions that will be more favourable for everyone on this earth at this time, in order to combat and defeat the powers and forces of darkness and send them back to where they belong, out of harm's way, so we can enjoy a beautiful, nice, Christic reality system, which I'm so looking forward to. Okay, but again, be grateful for the experience. At the end of the day, knowledge of good and evil means that we'll be graduating and coming into high levels, I guess, of responsibilities off the back of this, no doubt. Okay, that's kind of what I got a feeling of, especially with my experiences. Anyway, okay, so sending you lots of love and blessings and light and grace and protection, and whatever happens, stay strong, do not fear, have faith, and act as an anchor in a safe zone for many beings around you. Okay, like I said, the King's Court, the Queen's Court, is otherwise a 12-mile radius around your body, around your being. Okay, extend that out as far as you can and project it into the earth and out into the universe, the multiverse, and really set your intent and say, hey, look, guardians, guides, God, I'm here. Let my vessel, let my body be a vessel for thy good works. What is it you would like me to do? Let's do this. Let's protect the earth with love and light. All right, guys, take care. Speak soon.